Whew. Hello, all you people that are listening and watching currently. Let me do a thing so you can all see our faces.
Hmm.
Wow, we're here. All right. They were good. Everything else is good.
Who would want to see
Hello.
our faces?
There you go. You just lighten it up a little bit. There it is. All right. All right.
All night.
Hello, everyone. We are here for Altered Weekly Online League, also known as AWOL Week 13. And as you can see, I'm not joined by a picture of a hero, but I am joined by the Simon of AWOL fame, and also just recently famous for being on the Altered.gg website. How are you doing, Simon?
I am doing fantastic tonight. It is the final AWOL Wednesday weekly of the year. Um, we have a bunch of people registered for this event, 58. It's the biggest Wednesday we've had in a hot minute, but that is for a very important reason. Do you know why that is?
I don't. Can you please tell me?
It is the last Wednesday weekly of the year, which means that this is the last time to get a chance to win your way into the seasonal invitational that will be starting on Saturday.
Saturday. That sounds like a good
Yes.
time. It's a little bit different than what we're used to. What time can we expect the Saturday event to start?
It will be at 11 a.m. Eastern time, 8 a.m. Pacific time, and I guess that technically means that 5 p.m. Central European time. Um, So yeah, there will be
I
plenty of
think
games to be played by all players from all regions. Because that's the beauty of AWOL. We have our Wednesday tournament, which is more North American based, but then Monday is more European based.
yep. And like you said, I think this is probably one of the bigger Wednesdays we've had in a little bit. I know the Europeans have been stacking up on Monday recently, but it looks like we might hit
Mondays
the 64 mark here pretty soon.
Mondays have been massive. Wednesdays have been pretty good too. We got 61 right now with a minute to go. You know, the Keylon guy just registered as usual, about
Yeah,
1 minute beforehand. I'm not surprised.
getting that last
But
minute
yeah,
Keylon guy is always a good sign.
yeah.
Um, let's see here. And then, yeah, we got 1 minute left. But anything you're looking forward to before we start this Wednesday event? Any special heroes? Any particular people that you've been watching for the last couple weeks? What do you got going?
Um, So there is somebody that has, before this event, sworn off all Board Game Arena events.
Hmm.
Um, they are PKP Psychos on BGA, I believe. Yep. They were one of the competitors at PAX Unplugged, and they did well throughout the whole weekend. I think they made top 8 in like 3 of the different events and won one of them. So I'll be interested to see what they bring tonight, what they end up playing. Also interested in seeing what Cole Robbie is bringing. But it looks like round 1 is up for the tournament, so I got to do my announcement to people.
Announcement time for everyone.
Yeah.
Right.
There we go. I almost tagged Monday, but I did not. All right.
All right, we are up. Let's go ahead and take a look at which board we want to go to. Do we just want to go straight to one of the people you mentioned here in the first round, or you got someone else
Let's
in mind?
let's make sure that we're getting somebody that actually is at their table. Because there's a couple matches that are in progress. Let's watch table 30, Gamma Knight. They actually just won Monday's event for AWOL, and I'm curious to see if they're running it back with the same deck.
All right, Gamma Knight it is. Let me boot it up for everyone here. That watch
You
the
thought that I was joining on Saturday? Nah, we're gonna get the double feature more than likely.
and we're in there. Gamma Knight versus Saturn. We got a good old
Looks like
Kesha
Saturn.
versus Navenka. I assume it's the same deck that Gamma Knight's running, unless they have a variant of Navenka that I'm not aware of.
And you want to know what the crazy thing is about this Navenka deck?
What's that?
What? Why is it saying I'm participating in today's event? I am not. Um, the crazy thing about this Navenka deck is that it has one unique, and that is it.
Mm,
It
preferring
only has
the more commons, huh?
Yeah, apparently there's just a lot of better commons, but the unique that they have in their deck, at least that they had on Monday, was very, very cool to see. It was able to remove fleeting when you rolled a dice, I believe, from
Hmm.
any remove fleeting from anything but itself, and it was 3 costs, so it could be anchored. So pretty cool, unique.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think I remember in the early weeks of AWOL there was I think it was Nolastra on the Akesha that
Hmm.
did a no unique Akesha
Yeah,
that top eighted,
they
I believe.
made top eight. They made top eight one week, and I think they made top 16 another with it, and they switched their deck up a little bit between it.
Yeah.
Uh, you know what I can do to figure this out? We
Hmm.
can go over to the totally unsponsored 39cards.com and check out the heroes function that just recently has been added, and look at all the Akasha finishes. So yeah, we have a sixth place 5-1 finish from Nalastra. We have a 15th place, but they have a Flamel in this one. Recently, they came in 6th place a month ago, and they finally have 3 uniques. So, slowly moving on up in the world.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting back in the day, and they were also I think in the launch tournament too. So
Hmm.
fun stuff. But yeah, I mean we got Gamma Knight here on the Navenka, playing some stuff that I don't typically see as far as like the Lyra Scald in common. Uh,
Yeah,
good stats, but no side effect. They sometimes see the rare being played, but other than that, nothing crazy.
that was an unfortunate one roll right there. But that is the upside and downside of playing with Navenka. Live and die by the ones.
He had to give it a shot. I mean, otherwise he was getting blocked. So
Yep.
everything that I saw, at least from the last two games on him playing, was pretty tempo aggro based and try to
Yeah.
get a win before the other person or hero can respond, even if you're running off of like fumes on like one or two cards. So yeah.
And that's something that I think I'm going to be really worried about here if I am Gamma Knight. Because my opponent is on a Kesha and they right now have a 1 expedition lead. Not only does a Kesha have the means to play around your opponent's plays really easily and trade expeditions early on, but they're also Ysmir, so they have access to, the very lovely spell Small Step Giant Leap. So there's a chance where they can win this game before this Navenka is even able to get a foothold again, just off of that one singular dice roll.
Yeah, I imagine that's the idea behind like cards like the Lyra Scald in general, where it's pretty well statted for two cost and just
Mhm.
hoping to get an advance even if the opponent gets one, and at some point just planning on beating them in one of the expeditions entirely to at least have a one tumult advantage in general, but currently behind. Did hit a good roll on the trickster there in the companion expedition, but uh,
The big
di-
stick.
yeah, a bit down though still on card advantage at the moment, but we'll see what they can do. Just gonna focus on the companion expedition at this point with only 2 mana left.
Yeah, and that's an interesting play. With the Navenka here too, they also have chosen to completely forego. Well, okay. I was curious if they were going to have another card, and that is explaining the Thespian could have worked regardless of if that Scald was played, because the Trickster itself would have counted it.
Yeah.
But they were able to bait out the Katagirian Alchemist, and right now this is actually a very interesting position for the Akesha player because they have 2 cards going to reserve at the end of the day, and they already have 2 cards in the reserve, so they'll only be able to keep 2 of them. So it's almost like the Navenka player has double sabotaged and somehow found their way back into. Oh, this is going to be brutal. Yeah, and just like that, like I think this Navenka player is entirely back in this situation.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting as far as like I think the Akesha was planning on there being another card for two cost that's played in the hero. Otherwise, they wouldn't have played the Alchemist. I just don't think that they were planning to see that rare Thespian come out, because if it was the common, obviously it would have been tied, but
Mhm.
we do see the rare. Gets the 2 boosts, and it's a pretty good stat stick for 2 cost as far as 4 stats right away. You don't really see that pretty much anywhere else other than with the Thespian, both in faction and out of faction.
Yeah, and right now Saturn just had to discard 3 cards from their reserve, and they're relying on the luck of the draw with their top deck because they got rid of the magical training as well. So I'm curious to see what they can pull off with this, because not only are they now somehow on the back foot after getting double advanced upon this last round after having a sizable advantage, the Navenka player Gamma Knight has this Ouroboros Trickster stuck in play from that Beauty Sleep, which is one of the upsides and downsides of Beauty Sleep. You know, you can sometimes target your own things defensively or aggressively target your opponent's things, but there comes a time when you're going to have to answer the opponent's card, and right now they've got an advantage on both expeditions.
Yeah, it makes you think on if while being ahead at least 1 space on the tumult, if it would have just been better to just go the opposite expedition that Gamma Knight was going and just be happy going 1 for 1 consistently, because I think that kind of goes against the typical plan that Gamma Knight would have as far as getting ahead. I know they are both probably running the small step that you mentioned earlier, but past that, it's just a situation now where they had to use a lot of cards when they were trying to split the expeditions, and now they're not able to use pretty much anything except everything in their hand, 1 card from reserve, and still going down here, even with the sabotage and the twinkle twinkle that might have reduced costs from something in hand. But yeah, they're going to give up at least 1 expedition here.
And this is, like you said, playing right into what Novenko wants to do. They now have this 1 expedition lead, and if they can continue to trade back and forth, they will have potentially this small step giant leap and not even have to compare statistics, just immediately win. It is worth pointing out that Gamma Knight did not place a mana orb last turn. So they're working right now on one behind the opponent, so they'll be at 6 compared to 7. And how do you feel about that play last turn about not placing a mana orb?
So I actually run a Navenka deck a few different times at my locals, just like testing it out. I think it's probably like one of the best, if not my like favorite Lyra heroes in general. Um,
Hmm.
and I often find myself just stopping manaing at 6 mana,
Yeah,
and I'm fine with it, and I can still keep up because I just have won so many low cost things, and chances are I should be ahead at that point. And if I can still maintain similar to what Gamma Knight does of just a 1 expedition lead until I can small step and all I need is 6 mana, then I'm feeling pretty good most times. And granted, like I definitely have different things in my deck, but it seems like for the most part, it's similar no matter which way you run it. I think the only other way you could run a Navenka deck is with the permanent, but I think at this point everyone realizes that a lot of permanents other than Haven Bravos Bastion are just too much of a tempo loss.
absolutely. And right now, Gamma Knight has 1 expedition away from being able to win this game here.
Yeah,
And it's Saturn is in just such a strange spot to be in. They have this off you go, which is able to remove something, but if Gamma Knight has more than 1 card they can play from their hand, they're not going to worry about this off you go, really.
yeah, and we do see the rare Hathor play from reserve, common Hathor play, because
I know.
it fits so well in the companion expedition at the moment, and we see kind of like the desperate conjuring seal for the Akesha at this point. We do see that one unique that you talked about
Yep.
getting played as far as the Kappa is concerned. When you roll 1 or more dice, you may have target character other than me lose fleeting, 3 costs, 4 from reserve, 4/2/5 stats. Um, but we will see Gamma Knight passing just to see what Kesha has left, and it doesn't look like it's much because they're not able to catch up to that unique Kappa, and that will be the game.
start. It was immediately proving me wrong. I thought that Gamma Knight was going to be on that back foot after they were double advanced upon on the second turn of the game, but they pulled it back. Very, very big congratulations to them for being able to bring that game back in reach after I was not of the opinion they would be able to.
Yeah, it's always the benefit of being able to the game of Altered, where you can go behind and still come back in some capacity if you're good enough. But if not, then I don't know, maybe you're screwed. Either way, let's try to find another game here as we go back to the big faces for everyone to look at. Um, there, Weekly 13. Let's see, still a lot to be played. I feel like that game was fairly quick.
Let's see. Yeah, see, a bunch of the people that there's a lot of people that were AFK.
Okay.
Cole Robbie's game is still playing. Let's go watch that one.
Which one? Which page is that? Or
It looks
table?
like it is at table. Oops, sorry. I just control F, so. Table 26.
Kohlrabi all the way on the bottom as far as tables are concerned. Not a surprise. Anyway, let's see. Let's see what he's gonna play at the moment. We
There
got.
is some spice happening at this table.
I see. I see. Let's switch it over so everyone can see said spice. All right, here we go. In case you ever wanted to watch some sweet Aurak and Kibble gameplay, and because it's very rarely used, I'm going to go ahead and hover over the ability here. Um, when you play a character with base statistic of 0, I gain a performance counter. And at noon, you may spend 5 of my performance counters to reveal a top card of your deck. You may play it for free, or put it into your hand. So it counts as a draw, kind of, if you want to. But yeah, let's take a look at the game board here. Kohlrabi is down 1, but did just play the Lyra Festival. Can they pull it off? Is the question.
I don't think we'll be able to do it this turn, but we'll see if they can do it next turn. Right now, I'm not sure if there is going to be a next turn, though.
We may see a Kodama played. There still is 2 mana left.
That is true. A Kodama would clutch it up here.
Or a 1 cost play and a 1 cost Beauty Sleep. There could be a Beauty Sleep.
Oh,
Uh, drum roll. Oh yeah, he spoiled it for us.
unfortunate. All right. Well,
GG's. Unfortunate. We didn't get to
that
see
may
it,
or may
but
not be the only Auroch in the whole tournament, so good job. You at least put up a fight.
you tried. Sometimes trying isn't good enough though, and that's fine. Anyway, back down here to big faces. Let's go back to the games here. That was a quick one to watch. Let's pull up another one. Low percentage wise. We have a table 11 at 43%, I guess. Take a look at that. Not that BGA percentages are too correct, but why not? Um, there we go. We do have a Lyra matchup here. Finn versus Navenko. Just a lot of Lyra love happening lately. I know we saw Finn go away a little bit, but I've been seeing a few show up lately, and then obviously the Navenka being quite popular as of late. We do have a unique out though. 3 costs and 3 from reserve. Just straight up sabotages, and you may discard a card from your reserve if you do resupply. Pretty good Tanuki. I don't mind saying myself.
Well, I have just been informed that there is a second Auroch has hit the Altered Weekly Online League Blue, um, and they apparently won their first match.
Oh
So
boy,
we
we
will
may
have to
have to see that round two.
absolutely. Apologies, I had a player asking me a question about the tournament. I am a little bit in both areas tonight.
Yeah, no worries. I can always
if
keep
you are
talking.
if you are watching the stream, and I just have a friendly bit of advice for you. don't trash talk your opponent when you have message logs that are public and can be sent to people. Don't tell your opponent that you insult Altered by playing Ortis. Um, because that is something that I am having to deal with right now. So
I know there's been a few times where we were watching games and there was some salt in the chat, and the responses sometimes are pretty funny. I think at least one time they were playing Keelan guy with his Arjun deck, and they were not happy about losing to it. So
there are always some people that are going to be upset or frustrated. And in fact, that is something that I need to talk to the Board Game Arena staff about. Is right now I do not have the means to disqualify a player mid-tournament. But rest assured, I will
it's
not stand for this trash talk. So if the player in question happens to make top 16, they will be excluded from the standings. So
womp
it is not
womp for
hard.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
womp womp for them. They did
You,
it. They did it in a. They did it in a non-English language too. So I'm
okay.
not sure if it was intentionally trying to circumvent me as an English speaker. We do have blue. Not blue. We have Google Translate. So
It does exist, people. The internet is forever and it's super useful. So
uh,
don't
no,
get
we
caught.
cannot Cole, we cannot DQ them, but I can kick them from the server. But that is something that I know we had our talk with Vincent earlier this week about having tournament permissions. And I think that's something that really needs to be brought up because some people are just bad faith actors and we don't want to have them in the games.
But yeah, little fun side inside the stuff happening for anyone that's watching. You can figure out what Simon has to go through on a weekly basis. Um, but other than
It's
that,
a bi-weekly basis at this point. We have 2 tournaments twice a week.
yeah, but you don't make someone else deal with the Monday tournament, or you got to deal with that one too.
No, I still handle. I just don't do the pairings for it because I'm at work.
Yeah,
But whenever I get all the messages, I will look back on them, and take care of them as need be.
I
But
gotcha.
enough about my problems. Let's get into this game. Got the Lyra on Lyra, or is it Lyra on Lyra?
It doesn't matter. Say what you want to say. No one's gonna stop you. Anyway,
Well, isn't the musical instrument called a lyre?
yeah, it is called a lyre. So I mean,
So
maybe it's
Lyra,
a.
like,
But like, see, I've had this thing happen before. So I've mentioned for the purple faction, spelled YZMIR.
yeah.
It's to me, it's based off of a frost giant in Norse mythology called Ymir that does not have the Z, at least as
Oh,
far as
okay.
that I'm aware of. So I am not
See,
sure whether the Z is silent or am I supposed to say the Z? I always say the Z. But then again, there's a lot of other pronunciations that I apparently say wrong, but I just like saying subhash. I'm sorry. But
there is a pronunciation guide.
I am aware of it. I also don't know how to read, so that's where my issue is.
There was trying to figure out. There's a pronunciation guide somewhere. I have it, but I would have to go find it. Um, I call it Izmir, like Yzma from The Emperor's New Groove.
hmm
Izmir. Um, but I get where you're coming from, especially if Altered is a game based off of heavy mythological themes.
Yeah,
I can see it being the case.
but either way, we do got a game going on. We had the Navenka take a 2-0 in the previous day, and it looks like they're probably going to try to trade here one for
I
one,
think
but
I
we're not
think
sure.
they're thinking on if they need to use this small step giant leap here. Because I don't know if they'll have the cards in hand as the Fen player, that is. I don't know if the Fen player has the cards in hand to actually commit and win on the companion expedition. But if they small step giant leap here, then they get to tie the expedition advance. Yep. So this is what I thought would happen. They're going to end this day, and if the opponent doesn't have another sleep effect, they will be completely tied up.
And potentially setting themselves up for a second small step giant leap that they may have in hand already. But
Yeah,
We'll have to see. They will be the first player next turn if that is the case, and the Navenka will not be able to respond. Navenka does have a lot of interactables at the moment, but that will not super help. They could play the Twinkle Twinkle, and then it just depends on do they have something in hand. They could Twinkle Twinkle the Hathor, and then
Oh,
they decide to play the Sandman, hit the Hathor, and they will still
they
not
still have
advance
the
unless.
Navenka dice roll though.
Yeah, they have to hit it is the question. Can they hit it here?
It's a 66% chance, baby.
And we get the
Just like
boost.
that.
They get the block, so they will be adjacent. They will not be in the territory of getting hit with a small step giant leap next turn. At least not in a way that loses them the game at that moment. And they can probably hit it themselves. I
If
don't see
if
anything
you're
in the
the
discard.
Navenka player here, what are you
Yeah,
going to be keeping? Okay.
that was a quick
Interesting
one.
choices.
Yeah,
I almost wonder if they should have kept the Esmeralda instead of the Sandman,
for the two
because there's a
costs.
world, yeah, there's a world where they don't place a mana this turn, because they're expecting by putting that Esmeralda, or like right now with what they have in reserve, if they play both, they only have 3 mana to work with.
And that cloth dancer that just came out does have effect of your characters gain tough one. Uh,
Other than the Cloth Dancer, and an
yeah,
At Dusk effect too. That's a very powerful unique.
yeah. I don't know how much the at dusk effect will come into effect here, but the tough one will definitely help, especially if the Navenka was planning on using the Twinkle Twinkle. But the good thing about the Twinkle Twinkle is that it is also double beneficial of cost reduction, and maybe that's why they decided to keep the Sandman because they felt pretty comfortable as far as their mana curve, and they preferred just to keep the extra stats opposed to the Esmeralda. Um,
Sure.
but we can take a look. We pretty much knew the Sandman was gonna go to that companion expedition at this point. It's just a matter of what they each have in their hand at this moment. Two cards apiece. We're probably potentially looking at the last day here. I mean, technically, it could not be the scenario, but I'm almost betting it will be, especially with uh, Lyra-based characters that do have zero stats a lot of the time. But we'll
What
take a
if the
look.
Navenka still has Small Step Giant Leap in hand, and they just play it by reducing the cost from the Twinkle Twinkle?
They could be in it. I mean, technically they wouldn't have had to do it, but I know I've done it before just
You gotta
because.
bait out the counter spell.
Yeah, yeah, just in case they had a Baku or something. I wasn't sure. I need to keep two cards in hand. Um, but no, we are waiting on the Navenka to play though. I'm sure there's a few different options here. The Twinkle Twinkle will cost something if they choose to target with it.
I'm curious because they still have their Navenka's ability, so they can still make the Sandman strong enough to advance. Okay, opting for the Off You Go.
That will cost the extra.
The Hathor is a good target for that. Because now, ooh, I guess it really will come down to what's in their hand. And the
Yep.
crazy thing with Fen is that with Fen, you don't get to control what stays in your hand, because you never get to place those mana orbs. They just naturally get placed. This Fen could be sitting on some cards that are just not good at all in this matchup.
Yeah, unless they had some card return early on that we weren't aware about, but I don't believe that's the scenario. And they do have to figure that the Sandman will potentially be the 1/4/4 like you mentioned, and they're gonna have to block both sides here. But I'm not sure what the Navenka has in hand because they technically cannot play either of the cards in their reserve. Um, but I guess we'll find out. Still 4 mana left for the Finn though, so it
Yeah,
really could go either way.
I hope this Fen has another character to play from their hand.
We see the cost
Oh.
reduction happen. We see the
The
Tanuki come out.
Tanuki. Oh, this could be really bad for the Fen player.
Yeah, it is kind of working out a little bit in the sense of them being the first player at this moment because it will force they could play a card and then it will force Navenka to make a decision, but they don't have anything. And now that Navenka just has free roam to play whatever they want, not that they have to, and that'll be the game. They're gonna roll anyway.
I mean, there's no downside depending on what they target.
Anchored.
But look at that. That Sandman is strong.
They should have just targeted the Tanuki to really gamble, you know.
Let's go gambling. All
Probably for the new
right.
Gundam TCG. The Gundam TCG? Well, I mean, it's up to you.
It's made by Bandai. Do with that information what you will.
That's exactly why I am refusing to look at it. But you know, I mean, it looks pretty. But if it looks too pretty, it's probably a trap. Just keep that in mind. Anyway, that's the game. We're probably looking at the end of round 1 here. Let's switch over. Do.
It looks like round 2 is up. You are correct.
Round two. Do we have the one individual that you mentioned playing Aurak?
Ooh,
So,
they are currently at table 1.
All right, so it's loading here pretty soon.
Allegedly, they're at table 1.
Allegedly. Always allegedly. So win the lottery, it's $80 where you get the cool shiny stuff for a bail lunch. And then, hey there, Goaty. Thanks for stopping by.
Round 2.
I was honestly thinking about doing like a box giveaway if I hit like 1,000 views on my thing. So I don't know. I still might do that.
oh, thank
might-
you.
Yeah, the spotlight was pretty cool. It was very fun to, be able to talk about the game and what I've done with it. Very passionate about Altered. It was cool that I was reached out to about it. So thanks.
Yeah. Moon's a nice person to everyone else but me. So it's fine.
Look, you don't know that they're not nice to you either. You haven't determined that yet.
I like determining it so that way I can always have a chip on my shoulder. It feels better that way.
All right. So the person, tournament discussion.
It's not
Somebody
letting
said they
me.
got a round 1 bye.
It's not. Table 1 is not happening.
Yeah, somebody has a. I remember somebody saying that they got a buy round 1, and I see that the person who got a buy round 1 is supposed to be at table 1, but I'm not seeing those messages in any of the. Am I crazy? Well, I guess while we wait, we can tune into table 5.
Gamma Knights got put up against PKP Psychos.
I know.
Oh
We
boy.
got 2 strong competitors here.
Let's take a look. Always good for a Navenka game, and we have a Sigismar as well. Let's pull it up for everyone to take a look. Dun, dun, dun. And we're
And
switched over.
I'm curious if that anchor is going to be. I guess they had a martingale, so they could have picked whichever choice they wanted. So I guess anchoring was what Navenka wanted.
Yeah, they still took the advance. I wasn't sure. Were they close to blocking there? I didn't really see.
There was a what's it called? Ortis Gatekeeper. That if they were able to put the boost on, they would have blocked.
Mm,
So,
yeah, I guess that
but
wouldn't have been. I guess that might have been preferable, especially if they were planning on using the Hathor for a return. But
I'm not gonna underestimate Gamma Knight though. They had a crazy game last game where they were in the same situation and turned it around. So, ooh, we got a unique coming out. Paper Herald.
unique Paper
Okay.
Herald, a lot of text. When another non-token character joins your expeditions, create an artist recruit soldier token in your other expedition. When my expedition fails to move forward during dust after rest, create an artist recruit soldier token in your hero expedition. All right, so good old token generator unique.
We got an oops coming out from the Sigismar player, so not sure if that was the card they wanted to play, but A second unique has hit the game.
All right, from reserve, it's a Foundry Engineer. One costs two from reserve. The next permanent you play this afternoon costs one less. And then it's also a token generator to your hero expedition. So it seems like they wanted to put the Paper Herald in the hero expedition so that way they could generate tokens to their companion expedition,
I
potentially.
think probably what happened was they wanted to play the Foundry Engineer and the Ortis Gatekeeper, and because now they're going to have to get rid of one of their cards. But a new unique coming out from Gamma Knight, and it's a Kappa, but it's one that they didn't play on Monday, and it's one that they didn't play last game. So on a die or on play from hand, roll a die. If it's a 4 or greater, draw a card. Not the worst unique I've ever seen.
Yeah. They didn't play that last time? I feel like I saw that card. Maybe it was
It was a
something different.
different Kappa unique. It
Yeah,
was the one
okay.
that when there's a dice roll, you remove fleeting.
No, I meant like I thought I saw a similar Kappa unique that lets you draw a card. Maybe it was on a different player. I knew we saw multiple Navenkas. So maybe not. Either way, cool.
Like this tournament.
No, previous tournament. Maybe it was on Monday when I was
Let me
watching
look.
that one.
Because I'm like 90.
But either way,
Oh, you
it's
know
a
what I may have done?
what?
I'm looking at last week's tournament. Or 2 weeks ago tournaments. So they probably do have that Kappa. They probably
Okay.
had it last week or on Monday too.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Well, either way, it's a
Which is
three cost.
silly use.
Yeah, it's a 3 cost for 2/3/5. That's which is pretty good. We do see some card return there for the Hathor, taking care of one of the uniques that is 1 cost that helps you generate tokens. So always a good one to hit. But we will see the
Ooh, but
Baba
the
Yaga.
Baba Yaga is a good play right there.
Always a good static character, and then it draws a card, so can't complain there. And we're probably looking at another 1-for-1 here. Rolling to see if he can anchor, and they get the anchor on the Martingale. Good card to hit out there as far as anchoring is concerned. Always fun too if you get multiple martingales out there and then just keep on boosting your dice rolls until you have like
Hmm.
a 2020 or 2020-19 martingale. Always a fun time.
A
But
large martingale. Now, the Gamma Knight is playing Rare Tanuki.
yep.
So they will have the chance to sabotage again, and with the martingale, it ends up being a 66% chance instead of a 50% chance. So the Sigismar is starting to go down a little bit on cards potentially,
Yeah, it's interesting
but
because it feels like the Tanuki is, especially the rare one, is always different as far as like when it's an Avenka player if they're deciding to play it, and that one will not help. But I'm sure they'll take the stats, especially in the companion expedition. But it's always weird to see it because I feel like you're competing for rare slots sometimes in Navenka, especially if you're using Small
mhm.
Step Giant Leap or other out of faction cards. But interesting nonetheless. We do see the monolith Ortis Bastion for the Sigismar. What do you think of that? Don't see that often as much anymore. I don't think.
So I still like Monolith, but I don't like it on this turn specifically. I feel like you give up a lot of tempo playing the card, and right now you're currently racing for a board state. And playing it first when you have the first player marker gives up so much of your turn that your opponent then has all this information. But I will say it's a very powerful card if it sticks around, and there's a good chance that it will stick around. So they'll have 7 mana to work with. If they Man, it's really tough. A teamwork training could be a make or break card here on this next turn. Right now, the Navenka doesn't have any cards that have shown to us cost more than 3. They can play this Ortis Gatekeeper and have a teamwork training and just have so many options available to them. Um, so I don't know. This is going to be a very interesting turn to watch unfold.
Yeah. And they also only had one other card left in their hand at the time. So it makes me think they probably didn't feel like they had any other better play options. Um, Obviously, I think they knew it was going to be a risk, especially putting Avenka adjacent in that scenario. But technically, they should have the advantage for every character they play, but they're also down in card advantage. and they are putting themselves in small step territory. So not only do they have to survive this turn, they're going to have to survive next turn as well. Um, should make it interesting though, especially starting out with that gatekeeper.
I almost think that gatekeeper should have been put on the other side. No, that like it's the same stats overall, but you're competing for mountain.
Yeah, I'm curious on why they put it over there, or maybe they're just quick playing, or there's something in hand that I'm missing. But Twinkle Twinkle will be a big one. They are playing
So
fairly quickly though, so
I think that this is almost a near checkmate situation because with this Twinkle Twinkle, they can play the Kappa from the reserve, and they'll have stats on either side they put it on.
and if the Sigismar doesn't have,
Guards is
yeah,
not enough to do it either.
well, I mean, if it's anything but another character, they can also just Twinkle Twinkle again.
Yeah. And here's that teamwork trading that I was thinking was going to be so crucial to this turn, but it ends up not really mattering in the end.
Yeah, big card as usual for Ortis, but just not enough available. It seems like they can probably target either card, but like you mentioned, they can cost reduce and hit that Kappa on the companion side, and that'll be plenty to advance.
They might also just misplay. They could just pick the wrong expedition or not see their Twinkle Twinkle. Never underestimate card game players unable to breed a board state.
You say that, but Gammon Knight's been pretty good to the point of winning at least one weekly, so I wasn't expecting it. If we can see it, Simon, I believe Gammon Knight can see it. So
Hey, speak for yourself. I see all of the lines.
all the
I'm like
time.
that scene from what's it called? From The Hangover where all the like math is going around. That's me whenever I watch other people play games.
I was funny enough. I was thinking of like an anime. Which anime was I thinking about? Because when you said seeing the lines, oh, have you seen Rising Impact? I don't know how much anime
No,
you
I've heard of
watch.
it though.
Yeah, it's a golf anime. For some reason, I'm really into some like sport based animes lately, and there's this one character in there that can putt from anywhere and sees like
Hmm.
a golden line of where he's supposed to putt, and they make golf really dramatic, and that's what I was thinking of at that
I am
time.
a sucker for sports anime and manga. I just actually got finished up reading a baseball manga that I've been meaning to for a while. It's called One Outs, and it had an anime adaptation that I'm probably gonna watch at some point. But very good manga, so I can get behind some very corny sports anime.
Shout out to Kuriko. Anyway, let's see. Going back to round two, thanks for everyone that's joining, by the way. We are in the second round of the Altered Weekly Online
Ooh,
League, Week 13
it
finale.
looks like
Simon just said ooh, so he found a good table. What are we looking at?
Table One had their players show up,
All
so it looks like
right.
we will get some of this Orok gameplay after all.
All right, let's take a look. Take a look. Pull this up for all you lovely folks. Dun, dun,
Is it
dun.
too much issue if I disable my video for one moment?
No, you're good. It should pop back up.
Alright. Disable the camera. Let me make sure that it disables entirely before I do what I want to do.
Simon is blank. You're seeing a blank screen, everyone.
Well, I need to make sure it shows up as blank on my end. Can't be too safe.
Alright. We do see a unique card for the Afanis player. It's one of those Spindle Harvesters. Gains anchored from anywhere. 2 cost. 2 cost. At dusk, if I have 1 or more boosts, you may return a card other than me from your reserve to your hand. Sure, why not? I mean, those are the type of cards you want anyway. I did have someone recently at one of my locals get a 1/1 Spindle Harvester anchored from reserve that returns a spell for at dusk 1 boost. So they were
That's pretty
lucky.
good.
Yeah, they were lucky. I was like, wow, why didn't I get that from my OP pack? I
Oh, it
just
was
got,
in one of the promo packs too.
yeah. I was
Even
like,
better.
I just got a Rin and Orchid. but whatever.
Whatever, you're not salty.
Yeah, the funny thing is they were gonna trade me packs there for a second because
Oh,
they're like, I was actually looking for a Ridden Orchid, and they're like, do you just want my pack? And I'm like, nah, you open your pack, you get the satisfaction. And they're like, no, you can just open it. I'm like, no, you do it. And sure enough, anyway, I basically I shot myself in the foot. But we do see a second unique, gains anchor from hand, and at dusk, if I have one or more boosts, you may return a spell from your reserve to your hand. So sure, why not? More Spindle Harvesters. It's not looking pretty for the Auroch with all these Spindle Harvesters out, I gotta say.
yeah, that is one of the things with the Faunus I've found is some of those spindle harvesters, like, they're so sought after for both of those effects. And they just I have had in my possession 3 of them at one point.
Oh boy.
I no longer have 3 of them in my possession because I do not like a Faunus.
Hmm.
So my bank account got a little bit nicer afterwards, but yeah, it's interesting just how a certain type of unique can really make or break a deck.
For sure. And actually, let's take a look at how much these spindle harvesters would typically cost on the marketplace. Oh wait, we don't have a marketplace. Haha. So,
Funny
sorry,
man.
sorry for anyone that misses it. I don't particularly, especially with everyone charging $500 for a unique that I can sell on eBay for
Busted
10.
OP tier 1 unique.
Yeah. Anyway, shout out to anyone that has gotten emails about the beta marketplace. If you haven't gotten one yet, it's probably because that you haven't gotten an email yet. Don't despair. I'm not trying to be a doomer here. Um, you may or may not have also gotten an email today saying to wait and hold on. I don't know. Um,
Yeah.
maybe wait for tomorrow for more information. Either way, let's watch the game. We probably are looking at a 2-0 here for the Afonis, and we are in fact looking at a 2-0. But
Look, I only need one thing in this game, and it's to see Auroch's ability go off. They
I
just
got
have to survive this one turn.
I got some bad news for you. It's not looking likely. How many unique foilers you're going for, Cole? I mean, you do you.
Yeah,
And
how much are they going for right now, Cole?
uh, I mean, the
I'm curious.
I'm just curious about like the premiums of like watching people actually sell unique foilers on
I
like
got a unique
eBay.
foiler right here.
$15 a piece.
There's no way
Whoa.
they're going for 15 each.
Wowie woo.
I saw them going for like 8 a couple months ago. They're 15 each. I'm not going to use mine. I'm going to sell mine. Okay, it's a lie. How dare
Yeah.
you lie?
Liar, liar. I don't know if his pants are on fire, but what can you do? Either way.
There's probably plants in his pants, actually.
Plants on fire?
Oh, there's a good dice roll for the Ouroboros Trickster.
Gets those boosts out. Plenty of mana left, though, for the Afanis.
Yeah, and that's the scariest thing about that deck, is there's a lot of low-cost cards that Ysmir can play.
Is there a third Auroch tonight? Tonight? Was I able to speak it into existence?
Dream on.
I mean, there is. We got Flub in the chat saying that they're keeping the Auroch dream alive. That to me sounds like we've got 3 Aurochs.
Yeah, Flemish is the good old freeloader on a different name as usual. Can't make it easy, can ya? If it's not you, it's Keelon guy with different names all the time. I think Cole likes to use the spoiler in Redacted more than any person I've ever seen.
Agreed. Oh, 1 off you go.
2 unique spindle harvesters. 3 terrains to advance on.
Oh, I wasn't doing that. I was doing like Count Dracula from
Oh, you're
or
doing the
the
count?
Count from
You're doing the
Sesame
count?
Street.
Okay. I just saw the
Ah, and
opportunity.
there's the second off you go. I knew it was coming.
We get the passes out. The double advance coming out pretty soon. We don't get to see those 7 performance counters get used. Unfortunate. Maybe one day someone will be good enough with Aurak to get us there, but today is currently not that day. But maybe Freeloader will pull it off. I don't know. I haven't seen him play at the moment. So let's go back and see what other things are going on here in round 2, because we are in round 2 of the AWOL Week 13 finale of the Wednesday series.
Table 15, I believe, has 2 players that are reasonably.
Table 15, I'll go there pretty quick. Let's see how fast I can get there. Zoom, zoom, zoom.
Yeah, it looks like they're on a very close to a final board state. It may not
Alright.
even actually matter looking at what I'm seeing.
Alright, I'm there anyway. We can watch the final ending here potentially. A lot of stuff on the board for Kojo. Not as much left for the Traced. Kojo looks like they're going to take it, and they beat out the Trace, which we all know is not very good at all. It's just
Trace
a
is just bad.
it's
Kojo's
just,
better.
it's just a roulette deck. Everyone knows that. It's just completely horrible. That's gonna be. I
So
want.
horrible.
I want that. I want that to be like a meme that sticks in altered community forever. It's just the remembrance of that. Cole, make sure you save that in any altered based folder you have, because I'm gonna try to do the same anyway.
We should tune in to table 3 if you can.
Yeah,
It looks
let's
like
go
we're
back.
about to go to a arena day.
Table 3. Table 3.
Potentially.
Zoom,
Potentially.
zoom,
There's a lot of
zoom
thinking going on.
to table 3. Going back here. Let's go to gameplay.
It actually might not go to an arena depending on what the Sigismar has in hand.
Switching on over, we have a Sigismar versus a subhash, as I like to call them. But like you mentioned, we're pretty even at the moment. We don't know what the Sigismar has in hand, but they do have 3 cards to play with.
You know, I hear that there's a really good card called Teamwork Training. That would
It does
actually be
exist.
disgusting here.
It does exist. But we see
Oh,
the 4-cost unique Athena 4/4. If you from hand, it's if you or from hand or from anywhere rather, you may put a card from your hand in reserve. If you do, create 2 Ortis recruit soldier tokens in my expedition. And from
well,
reserve, it's if you control 1 or more landmarks, I lose fleeting. So good old Athena effect, but with the landmark requirement. But yeah, it just uses that to produce a bunch of tokens.
and I think Iron Man 28 making the right choice here to not play this Tinkerbell immediately and get rid of the Ozma because we'll be able to get full value from it this upcoming turn. I can only imagine that it's going to be targeting this Athena.
Yeah, I guess it would have to depend, I guess. Do they think that the Sigismar is not going to draw what they need? Unfortunately, they do have to decide to mana first, so they won't be able to tell if the Sigismar is going to hold back and think about the idea of can they only just play the Athena? Um,
The
but
Athena provides so much stats here, though.
yeah, it's probably the correct thing. It's just one of those things where you could always consider different options. You know,
True.
there's a good like if you think about it, Baba Yaga is a 2-cost 3/2/2 stat, which is pretty efficient, especially if the Sigismar wants to play multiple cards and out trade the Subash. But I don't know what the Subash drew. I don't know what the Sigismar drew. We're all just figuring things out.
I think that there's actually 5 pieces of Exodia in one of the hands.
That would be impressive since they each only have 3 and 2 cards. Maybe they're just
They're combined. One person
okay.
has 2 pieces, the other has 3. Altered is now a co-op game.
Cole, you still playing Marble Snap? I got to a point where I played that, I stopped playing it, and then I played again after a couple of months, and then I stopped playing it again. It's hard keeping up sometimes, but I feel like the meta also didn't change that couple month period that I stopped playing, so I don't know. It looks like the Sigismar chose to mana, the Subash did not. Subash uses ability to get the token out, but we'll see.
What do we think about these rare Muna Druids in Subash?
Interesting. You don't see them very often for anything really. I think the last time I used any type of variation of a Moon Druid was a unique in my Sierra deck, but yeah, I assume it's for the anchored play. I guess
That
it's
is
good.
not a powerful Anansi, unfortunately.
I guess it's a 2-cost 3/2 rather. But with cards like the good old 4/4/4 out of faction Haven Warrior, it's gonna be hard to compete. That's a pretty big stat. 4 cost left, and they're just gonna go ahead and Keylon burst, and that'll be the game for the Sigismar.
Yeah, what a finish. It went to arena, and it was a very close game from what I could tell.
Side
We
note,
only tuned in at the end, unfortunately.
what how many arenas have you seen in an individual game? Have you ever seen one
The
more than
furthest I've seen it go is 2. I haven't seen a
okay.
third. Maybe in the starter decks I saw a third, but usually in constructed, I don't think it gets to that spot.
Yeah, I've seen one triple arena in person at a local, and that was it. Then they
It looks like we have Hostage Akesha against Aphanis as the last matchup.
do you know how far they're in?
The Akesha player is 2 advances from winning, and Aphanis is 3. So
We still got a
it'll
lot to
take
go.
a minute.
Yeah, let me see, pull it up here.
There's still about 5 minutes left in their combined in-game timer too. So.
Oh, taking some
But the
time.
Celebration Day Katagear
Is in effect.
Bastion. It's a crazy combination.
It is in effect. All right, let's go full screen. Make sure everyone can see. Once again, we are at the end of round 2 for anyone that's watching. Thank you for joining. I have my special guest Simon here, who is now famous after being on a website for an article. And also,
Don't count me out. I was also on a YouTube short.
That's true. That's true. I remember watching that when I wasn't there myself. Anyway.
Oh, which one are you talking about?
Oh, I was talking about the PAX Unplugged one.
See, I was also on a Gen Con one. I was on
Okay.
multiple.
Okay. Well, I wasn't going that far back, old timer. So.
Yeah. I bet
Uh,
you don't even know about Winnie the Cook.
I've seen Winnie the Cook several times. Should come out soon, shouldn't it? Or, I mean, one of these days.
Apparently, UK still has the copyright for it in effect till like 2028.
Oh,
So,
really? So is that
yeah,
why?
that's why they were not able to do it.
That's unfortunate. Everyone knows the little fun blood and honey setup in the movies. Great anthology. Honestly, rivaling the Infinity Saga, if I may say so myself.
I almost wonder if the Akesha player will be able to win this turn.
They still
have
their tap, and they just played another Sakura.
Ah, that's backbreaking. Yeah, I mean, the Aphanis, I don't see a good way out with one card in hand.
Yeah, 3-cost Flamel still able to be played by the Kesha. Still can play any spell that they want. They get a cost reduction from the Faunus.
All step giant leap. It's enough if they have it. Come on. Yep. Who you targeting? What expedition? Your own? Dang.
Unfortunate for the Afanis.
Unfortunate indeed.
We do see the Baba Yaga come out. We'll look at a double advance for the Kesha. Let's see if they play a spell just for funsies. They
They
don't.
do not.
That's disappointing, but what can you do? That was the last game of round 2. We are in the Altered Weekly Online League, AWOL Wednesday Weekly 13. Simon's here.
I am here.
He's talking to me, so I don't have to talk to myself. Thanks for anyone that has been joining. We are in this is the finale of the season 1 that has seemed to last for 3 months, because it has.
It has been all of October, November, December, a little bit in September, and a little bit in January.
So it's been quite a journey that we've all been on, an expedition, if you will, that we've all had to do since we've gone beyond the gates. He said it. Anyway,
it's true. The gates have gone beyond.
we
So it
are.
looks like any one of the tables from 1 through 8 will all be undefeated players. Do we try to break the Auroch curse and watch Freeloader's game?
Yeah, why not? I usually like jinxing Freeloader whenever I can, as far as watching their game. So let's pull it up. Loading game art, as one does,
10%.
as it always is. Let's pull it up so everyone can watch game art.
Beautiful game art. The best.
Yep, rip is you, Freeloader. I'm sorry we had to jinx you.
How do you feel about the time zone for AWOL being a West Coast player?
It feels fine for me, but I also have a weird work schedule, so it works fine for me, kind of thing. For the typical person, I could see why it wouldn't be ideal, because it's a 4 p.m. slot. But yeah, for me it works fine. I wake up early. I get home at the latest at 3 o'clock usually, and that's if I'm not already working from home. So yeah. But I can see how it doesn't work for some people. What can you do? Granted, there's not that many West Coast players out there, so in comparison to you East Coast folks.
Comparison. All right, so Kojo versus Auroch. We've got Common Tiny Jin. I have been more of a fan of the rare, but I think the common still has some merit as well. Honestly, the main reason I was playing the common or the rare was because it was another 1-cost character in my deck.
Mm-hmm.
I did not care as much about the ramp side of things, although it did mean that I kind of would get to keep a card in the mid to late game when I didn't play some mana, which was an upside for Kojo because you don't always have that card advantage. But
Right. So
I'm excited.
let me ask you this as a fellow Bravos player.
Sure.
I was trying to describe the idea of ramp in Bravos doesn't always have to be ramp, in that it is kind of pseudo card draw for yourself. And the player that I was playing with is mostly like Elira and other like Muna player, right? And they're like, I disagree with you. And I'm like, I think it kind of is. It's not perfect as far as the same way, but it allows you to start not manning a little bit earlier if you want to, kind of thing. I mean, I've even seen it to the point of some decks running mana channeling pretty consistently as well. Even if it's not Atsadi or whatever kind of thing, right? But yeah, just
I
hear your
think it
thoughts on that.
entirely depends on like how high your curve is. If you're going to be playing cards that have like 3, 4, and 5 costs consistently, then sure, I can see it. But if you're trying to get that like low to the ground aggro style from Bravos, like Isan Boshi's Reds, physical trainings, intimidations, I don't know how good it is in that sort of strategy. But I think that the point you bring up of like ramping and then being able to keep a card in hand later is really good because it also puts you up, you're sacrificing one turn for a stronger turn in the future because you get to play one mana ahead of your opponent. So I haven't done as much testing on it myself, but I can see the logic behind it.
Yeah, it's one of those things where you just don't draw in Bravos. Like
Mhm.
it, you could run Ozma, but why? Um, and then other than that, it's pretty much uniques a lot of the time, right? So
Yeah.
you got to find another way to resource. You can resupply whenever it's possible. I personally don't like
Oh.
running rare havens. We do see that draw there of the rare draw in Bravos of the rare physical training. As soon as I say we don't draw, Bravos doesn't draw, of course they
Mhm.
start drawing. But
And that
it
is on a seasoned Pathfinder too, so that's going to be a 2 mana 3/6/6 coming out of this reserve on future turns.
question is, do they keep the physical training? And they do.
I think
So
that keeping the physical training here is completely valid. They have their Kojo, so that means a Buddha is going to be coming out. Because if there's a Buddha, that means that there's a target for this physical training. So if they have a 1-cost card in hand, they can split their bodies up across both expeditions and, scout out these plays before that physical training. I have been a big fan of the rare physical training in my Bravos decks. Currently, I'm playing 2 in my Kojo list, and
wow.
it has performed really well. I think that the stats that it provides usually end up being very valuable, and being able to play them twice on the same turn when you're in that late game can be invaluable.
Yeah, I don't disagree as far as like the option of keeping the physical training. I think it was more of a situation of what they had in hand at that moment. I
Hmm.
do think the idea of not keeping the bouncer and keeping the physical training kind of tips your hand a little bit as far as what resources available to you in your hand to your opponent. A lot of the time when I'm playing against a Bravos player as another faction, I'm almost always targeting their ability to play characters, whether that be
Hmm.
sabotage, putting fleeting on characters, whatever it may be, kind
Sure.
of thing. But in this scenario, now I know that, hey, maybe targeting characters isn't the ideal scenario because they probably have a lot in hand. Will that matter in this scenario, especially even though it's freeloader, you're playing Aurak? I don't know. But yeah, I agree with you on your other aspects. I was just trying to think of it from a different setup, and we do see the sabotage come out anyway to hit the physical training, opposed to saving it for later and trying to hit a character.
And I do believe that on this upcoming turn, we will have the potential to see an Auroch ability.
Oh boy. Come on, Mind Apotheosis.
This is a tough situation. The Esmeralda will hit a resupply if you play it, and it can anchor the Tanuki, but it will not advance you on this expedition. So you'll be going down one expedition lead to Bravos. And the name of the game in Altered is tempo, and especially with these aggressive decks, the tempo that you can acquire on turns like these can definitely make or break the situation that you're in. So it looks like they are opting for that Esmeralda play.
Yep, and one thing we didn't mention is we did see the out of fact. We see the rare Bravos Vanguard rather to get the fleeting and add a boost to that Pathfinder that we know is seasoned, and we're gonna even see some more boosts happening, even though they didn't need to remove the fleeting, just to verify that hero expedition and get the double advance.
This is a situation where if I'm the Bravos player, I am extra worried, but there's already 2 Tanukis down.
Yeah,
So, yep, getting rid of the helping hand there, not being greedy. I think that's the right call.
yeah. You're almost always gonna want to keep the characters, especially in Bravos. Which is why we were kind of discussing the bouncer call
Mm,
earlier, but the physical training obviously not a bad situation because it does allow you to draw, one of the few things in Bravos that does.
yeah.
Um, but I mean, 3 cards in hand, 2 cards after mounting potentially, still not a horrible situation for Bravos. In fact, it's probably good anytime you're not
Oh
draw.
no! The Auroch!
What did he hit?
Ouroboros Trickster!
Sweet, 2 costs for free. What a play.
The unfortunate reality of Auroch. It's rough.
I'd be curious to see what bigger cards he is playing in the Auroch.
I've seen Auroch lists that are entirely low to the ground, and a one. They're entirely low to the ground aggro, and they're just using Auroch as like a every other turn being like a free way to cheat in mana out of cards. Like you
Yeah.
aren't paying for the cards. Like if you hit a 2 or a 3 drop, like the mana that you're gaining from that is equivalent to some other heroes.
If not, just for a free draw too.
Yeah.
But we will see the
Sandman.
big boy Pathfinder come out. But it gets slapped right away by the Sandman. I assume we're probably going to see the Vanguard just to verify on the fleeting at some
I
point.
don't know about the Vanguard.
Doesn't need to play it, I guess, at this point, especially with the sleeping.
Yeah, so now they're forcing more of a board to be committed on. Oh, this could be really bad. If there's nothing to be played on the Hero Expedition, this Bravos Vanguard can come down and win in water and put the boost onto the other Pathfinder and win in water on that expedition as well. So Freeloader has to have a card here that somehow impacts the board. Doesn't matter which side of the board it's on, otherwise they run the risk of just
Yeah, another
losing.
Sandman.
But Sandman comes down, puts it to night, and we're gonna see another Auroch on this upcoming turn. Got
Oh
5
boy,
performance counters again.
2 in a row. What more can you ask for as a viewer? You're welcome.
All right.
And we do see the Kojo player not even bothering with the Bravos Vanguard at this point.
Absolutely. Give yourself an extra card to mess with next turn. That's a big advantage to have in a deck like this when both players are in top deck mode.
And so for this next day, Freeloader's going to have to hit something big. We have 2 Pathfinders that were slept from the previous day. We will have a Buddha turn, and we will have boost coming out from the Vanguard, and then whatever else is in hand. Not the ideal scenario, especially with all those stats on the board, but you never know. Magic could happen.
What do you think is the best thing that they could hit?
If they have a mind apotheosis, I guess. I don't think they
This
do.
deck does not quite look like it's playing the Mind Apotheosis Auroch, which, to be fair, I think that can be very hard to pull off, so I do
Yeah.
not blame them.
Yeah, I mean it's obviously not likely, but I mean if we're talking ideal scenario, I'd love to see a mind apotheosis,
Mind
but
Apotheosis into double Kaibara, and what can you do?
but we do see a card getting sent to the mana zone. But they could play
Small
small
Step
step
Giant
giant
Leap.
lead.
That actually is quite an okay draw here.
The question is do they have enough stats between the 3 cards at this point in order to
So
advance on
right
one side?
now, board state wise, they can put 6 Mountain into play off of these Sandman. If they have something that can get 2 more Mountain just based off of the board states that we have seen, ooh, and they go for advancing that expedition. I guess water is the same though.
Yeah.
And they could potentially stall on water. Hmm. Or they could have another small step giant leap in hand. Esmeralda, get the resupply.
To the small step?
But that Hathor can pick up a Sandman and sleep something. Oh,
This might be a little bit
I
slow.
don't know. This is a very interesting game that we've turned into. The Sandman can sleep.
The problem is they'd have to play the
But if Kojo
Sandman.
doesn't have
Yeah.
anything in hand, then if they have no stats that they can put on this companion expedition, this game is over.
So the funny thing here though is that if they would have
Yep.
advanced their hero
Grass.
expedition,
Yep.
they would be off grass and they'd have the ideal play of being able to just sleep the one Pathfinder.
And I think that they were respecting the Tiny Djinn and the Mighty Djinn more than the
Right.
water statistics. And the helping hand here coming out on the Buddha. So they would still tie. So it looks like we're gonna have another day. Interesting. They have to be very careful what they.
It doesn't matter because they play Helping Hand again, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If they had put it, I guess they can still sleep the Pathfinder in the uncontested lane. Because they can't sleep one of the ones in the companion expedition. Otherwise, the Helping Hand just wins them on both expeditions.
Yeah, and that's
Okay,
what they're going to
I
end
saw
up
the
doing.
line.
Yeah, they're just going to have to delay it. And we'll just see the Helping Hand come out to put 2 cards to reserve here opposed to 1. And they're going to choose the Tracer, opting for just more pure stats, I assume, opposed to the
Yeah,
Vanguard.
I think that that's the right play here. They only have to, like, right now, they're advancing so consistently on this hero expedition. So having
Unless,
stats,
small step,
unless a small step giant leap comes out here, the second insane draw, that would be quite the situation.
and I have to imagine the Kojo is probably looking at being able to keep both cards. Yeah, they do. Going to be able to play everything at this point.
And
Anansi
Nancy,
comes out and not looking ideal at this point.
so the Kojo player will have to put 3 stats into the mountain on the right from their hand.
And
Because
yeah, everything's just playing quick at this point.
Interesting.
If we do happen to go to a tiebreaker, we will get to see an Auroch play, so there's that. Oh, he managed his small step giant leap last turn.
No,
Unfortunate.
that's unfortunate. But these physical trainings are going to be able to put the final nail in the coffin for our hero, the Auroch player freeloader.
Still an opportunity to go top 16 though, so we may see it happen.
Absolutely. In a strong 2-0 start, you never know what might happen with that. All right, let's see what Cole's complaining about in DMs now.
He's always complaining. So
That's what happens when you play high roll Auroch. You draw double Mind Apotheosis into double Asmodeus. It's just the nature of the beast.
Oh man. All right, let's get off of that screen. Look at big faces again. Hi everyone. Let's
Large faces.
Let's look at what else we got playing here, so I can put on another game before you get too scared of my beautiful chin that you can't see.
Table 13 has the Keylon guy.
Table 13. What did he lose?
I would be curious to watch that.
Let's take a look. Go to the game.
Actually, a very close match.
Full screen. Let's switch over so everyone can view.
Let's see, does he have any tier 0 400 euro Aphanis uniques?
So many ways to
I
win
know
that
that
game,
he doesn't.
and I whiffed
We
all
just
of
had
them.
a conversation.
Well,
Oh yeah.
Don't whiff next time, freeloader. Come on.
Just don't whiff. Keylon guy. Does he have the small step? Oh no.
Or is he baiting it to get him to quit?
The classic Yu-Gi-Oh! Cowboy for game. For anybody that knows that reference. That Orda's spy is really cool. I would like that spy in my collection.
If you control a token, sabotage, create an Ordis recruit token in target expedition. So it procs on itself.
Yeah, so you don't even have to play it in Sigismar. But the small step giant leap coming out did not even need a 500 euro unique to win with Aphanis and Senka, proving all the haters wrong.
500 euro, is that what that was going for? Hold on, let me check the marketplace. Just kidding again. Anyway, let's see. Going back.
I'm trying to find games that have minimal progress.
Yeah, we may as well use this to find as many players in the bottom end too if we can, because we're probably looking at top end here moving forward. I
Table
think
21.
okay, let's go there.
Interesting. I
think
wonder if this game started really late.
I think we
We
watched one
saw
of these players
the
before.
the Fen we saw earlier.
Yeah. Switch it over. Sorry guys, no fun allowed. Yeah, I figured you either had it or you were trying to bait him into the idea of you having it, but you didn't actually have it, and he just decides to pass, and then you win. That would be a top tier play. But anyway, we see some Finn gameplay here. A lot of stuff in reserve, including a unique. You may discard a card from your reserve. If you do, up to one target character gains fleeting. Interesting. But it's 4 costs for a decent amount of stats, so I'll take it.
How do you feel about being poked on Facebook, Blue?
Oh, Facebook, huh?
Yeah.
Sure. Uh, it's just a weird it's a weird concept in general as far as like the whole poking thing, but I think I currently only use Facebook for altered related things at this point. Like I help run the California Facebook for altered, and other than that, I think I look at Facebook Marketplace occasionally. Um, but the idea of poking people is crazy. Funny.
So yes, Cole, you can still poke people, and I'll get into that later. But I want to hear Blue's story.
Funny story, Facebook wise. It's a short one. For some reason, yesterday, Farmville got brought up. And I'm like,
Oh no, it did not.
it got brought up. And I'm like, oh man, Farmville. Like, I remember people actually bothering people in real life. Like, hey, have you been to my farm recently? Because it looks like you haven't been to my farm, and I really need you to tend to my crops. Otherwise, we're gonna have a fucking problem. You understand me? Look at my farm. Anyway, I just remember that. That was a fun little aside. But go
Uh,
ahead.
so my friends, ooh, I don't know about getting rid of that acapella training there, because right now you can hook this aloe vera over to the left expedition and advance, but you know they have the Tanuki as well.
So they can
They
still
won't.
hook if they want to.
They can hook that Esmeralda and it will not change anything, and they'll be able to pull off a double advance. Wow, hooked coming in clutch, showing off the power of changing expeditions. Very, very powerful card in the right tools or in the right hands. And this game is back at an even situation. But yeah, so back to my story about poking people on Facebook. My
Uh
friends recently have decided that that is their mode of humor. So their
huh.
comedy right now is to start poking people. So there is about like 7 or 8 of us that have all started poking each other. I have not in my entire life poked anybody on Facebook. Um, but I have a history of being poked on Facebook. So it has just been a
Ah.
very interesting past couple of days.
Oh yes, poking. The good old times. I remember when I was poked. No, I don't. I just I don't. I think the picture on my Facebook is one of when I was in college, probably, if not sooner. So tells you something.
Were you on the original Facebook wave back in 2007 in college? I'm just calling you old here.
Yeah, I am old. Facebook was that I in um
You don't have
no.
to date yourself, it's
No,
okay.
I'm trying to remember like when I got into Facebook. Um because I remember when Facebook was originally popular, I was too young at the time and my parents didn't want me on it, but I was on
Mhm.
MySpace. Um, so I think it was like senior year of high school potentially or junior year.
Yeah,
Um,
this is Cole's opportunity to call me a child or a baby or whatever he wants.
I know he's older and overall, because I remember people were listing off names in a Discord or ages in a Discord channel at one point, and I'm like, oh, cool, I'm kind of younger than everybody, but yeah.
Not younger than me. Oh, all right. So looks like we're gonna have the double advance again for showing Cracker 8, and just like that, they have they have turned this.
I this is why like I love that TCGs have adopted the whole like pseudonym aspect
Yeah.
that you see from esports
Uh.
because like it's just hilarious the names that people come up with. I can't help it.
Do you?
Like I love the uh, the uh, the names people come up with when just they're going to they're not actually going to the altered events, like the people that are just signing up for events, and now they've just come up with the most random names. Now it's like going going out for milk was one I saw earlier
So
this week. So yeah.
I have quite a few. So the first game that really adopted that. Also, before I do the story, I agree, Keylong Guy. It is very cool having Blue and I casting this week. This has been fun.
Yeah.
Um, um,
We're barely casting, but go ahead.
um, we were running Bandai games at the shop that I was a manager
Mhm.
at. And that was when we first started seeing the gamer tags, for lack of a better word, showing up for
Right.
events. And I will never forget when I saw Creamy Bigums sign up for a tournament, and I'm like, I don't want to announce this out loud. We also had like dolphin noises, and we had stands like from Undertale. Um, we had the Onion Knight. We had a bunch of really interesting ones, and we see it a lot in Board Game Arena because it's just usernames and like
Yeah.
gamer tags. But it is very interesting.
I love it. And also, while we're on the subject, by the way, congrats to the Finn player for winning that last game. Um,
And
I
sorry
have
to the Finn player for losing that game.
yeah, I have a bone to pick with the Equinox folks that did the username system. All the usernames are already unique. You don't need the numbers. I don't want my number. Just let me be blue by itself. Anyway.
I understand. I agree.
This let me be blue dabba dee dabba da. Anyway, let's go back here. Any games left?
We do. We have a Lindaway versus a Kesha going on actually. So
Is
this is
that
one
table
with the
27?
Keylong guy. It is indeed.
All
It's the
right,
Akesha player that we saw earlier, actually.
sweet. Let's pull it up.
But
Once again, thanks for everyone for putting up with us reminiscing about older people stuff slash maybe not so older people stuff because apparently Simon is a young child.
how old do you
But
think I am?
how old do I think you are? Hold on, let me
Yeah.
look at the Discord if you listed the name.
See, I don't think you can do that.
I,
That
I know
seems
I,
unfair.
I know everyone was listing their names off in that specific area at one point, but if I hadn't previously seen it or used stuff as a reference, um I am this old, so I would say honestly, I'd assume most people within the TCG realm that have a full-time job that like playing TCGs consistently as a hobby are usually in their upper 20s to early 30s slash late 30s. Most often in their 30s. So I would say early 30s.
Am 25, turning 26 next month.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm a young one, and a lot of people don't realize that. But the older I get, the less it comes around, so eventually it'll stop happening. But I agree with the Keylong guy. This has been quite the match. We have both a common Isba, a rare Isba, and there was a Ortis carrier in the reserve at the same time.
And
Ooh,
a unique
start.
Sakurabru.
Yes.
Arabru. that lets you move your expedition back, and you may put a card from your hand in reserve. If it's a spell, you may return a target character or permanent with hand cost 4 or less to its owner's hand. And we see a small step played, so that's fun, and a double advance from the Akesha. So we're dead even.
Can we draw a small step off the top? How small can this step be?
Or could it be a giant leap for the win?
I need you to
Speaking,
do something for me.
what's up?
I need you to click on the discard pile for Akesha.
All right, let's take a look.
Do the two off you goes have different font sizes for you?
Yes, they in fact do. The one off
That
you go,
is,
the one off you go is different than everyone else though, so it makes me think it's all the other
but
text
if
is
I
fine.
look at the Lindaway's discard, both of their off you goes are the same size. Oh, doesn't matter. Small step, giant leap, off the top deck mode. GG,
Easy,
no re. Akesha, 360 no scoped.
easy win, to be honest. And also, I want to point out one of the really prevalent cards within the game, Small Step, Giant Leap, American. Why aren't we better at this game? We suck in comparison to EU players. Just saying, by the way. Like, maybe because there's more of them? I don't know.
All right,
Anyway,
so round 4 it looks like is up. We have currently 8 undefeated players. Table 1, 2, 3, and 4 are all undefeated, and I do believe table 4 we have not watched either of those players yet.
sweet. That's always something that works out nicely. Yeah, we don't get free time. We don't get paid maternity leave either, or paternity leave. I'm not a maternity. But you get what I'm saying.
So Sigismar versus Traced, it looks like is the matchup. We get to see some tier 1 versus untiered hero gameplay here. Um, fun fact with Traced, the very first time I read the card, I somehow missed that you do not remove the scrap counters when you use the ability. I thought that it was like Auroch, where you had to remove the scrap counters to use the effect. So I glossed over it. And then when everybody started talking about the card and I eventually got to play it, I was like, oh my gosh, this card is so much better than I gave it credit for. And it was just a small little sentence that changed it. So be the
Yeah,
change you want to see in this world.
yeah. I think a lot of people mistook that with Traced originally. Mostly noobs like yourself. I
Yeah,
definitely never
it's
had that
true.
problem. Um,
Absolutely. I could not
yeah,
imagine it happening with you.
yeah. I mean, who would automatically assume a counter gets removed?
That's true.
I mean, come on.
It's
Um,
silly. Counters would never get removed ever. Boost counters, like seasoned, who would have thought?
it's not like every other aspect in the game has counters being removed. But either way, we're waiting on a game that's finally loading in here. It took a while to pick the mana. It was a tough decision. They both spent about 2 minutes deciding on their mana, actually. Pretty crazy. Um, yeah, Gatekeeper.
Sigismar opening with Gatekeeper being probably one of the strongest turn 1 plays. You put the consistent stats on both expeditions, you're almost always guaranteed an advancement no matter what you play here. It is definitely one of those cards, but I will say it does not always curve well into the next play that you have in your hand with Sigismar. Things like the Baba Yaga or Katagaran Alchemist, having that reduced cost the next time you play means that you can almost chain better cards together. But with the Ortis Gatekeeper, you have to have a 1-cost card the next time you want to play it if you play it on the immediately following turn. So if you don't, then you're not using all of your mana efficiently, but or like the other option is playing 2 cards from your hand and then you're discarding one at end of turn, so it effectively had fleeting. It's a very interesting dichotomy there between the card. So
Yeah, interestingly enough, though, the Trace player does come out with a conveniently statted Keylon Elemental for 2 cost at 2/3/2, able to block the 3 stats of the Gatekeeper while advancing themselves, which you don't often get to see. So
and
appreciate it.
taking a look at this Keylon Elemental, it has very interesting Stats. 232 is the same combined stats as Keelan Elemental normally has, but it's a little bit more equally distributed. But I almost wonder if making a character lose fleeting is really powerful, but I feel like most Trace players want those cards to be going into the reserve as early as possible.
Mhm.
And those Keelan Elemental quote unquote uniques that put a card from your hand in the reserve are very valued among a lot of Traced players I know. Just having those extra effects so you get those scrap counters early can come up very quickly.
They're also really nice for when you're playing decks that don't let you get to reserve, like
Hmm.
acapella trainings on
Yes.
Lyra are a huge backbreaker to trace if you don't have a Keylon Elemental available.
Yeah, if you can have a Keelan Elemental and put an Ada Lovelace in your reserve with it, you are usually in a very solid position as Traced.
Yeah.
Um, but it looks like this Trace was able to, using the from reserve effect of their unique Keelan Elemental, put this Axiom Salvager, which would have been able to be played if the Sigismar player did not have this Ortis Spy. And the Trace player doesn't have another play, so they're not going to have anything in their reserve next turn. This looks like a really bad situation to be in if you're the Traced player. Maybe a turn 4, we're looking at scrap counters online when usually you want turn 3 by the latest.
Yeah, not hitting turn 3 traceability does not feel good. Especially most times you can feel better about it if you're able to get a Haven out in the process.
Hmm.
But if you don't have Haven out, you're coming into like day 4, day 5 of not hitting traceability, especially if you're not even close in this scenario. Um, Not ideal, especially running into a Sigismar that's definitely going to have a lot of cards to play, including that rare Ortis Spy, which we don't see a lot of anymore. That's going
Yeah,
to set up some more recruits.
Orta Spy usually gets played as a common nowadays. There have been times in the past where the rare seas play when you have more of the monolith and charge type effects where you can make better use of those bodies. But recently it hasn't seen as much play. But it looks like we have a monolith rune scribe unique coming down from the Sigismar player. If you've less than 8 mana orbs from any zone, make an Ortis recruit, pretty solid. But then also, if you control a token when you play it from your hand, the next card you play costs 1 less. So they have effectively 4 mana to work with now, pretty solid. Might be able to contest pretty much anything this Traced has. It is not looking great. There is an Ada Lovelace, though, which is powerful.
Yeah. And with the play on it this turn, the Trace will be able to play it next turn unless we do see a fun like Legat for some reason. But it doesn't look like that's what we're going to see. We're going to see the Gatekeeper come out for 2 costs, probably 1 cost in hand somewhere for the Sigismar. We will see the Jin being played. I don't see that very often in anything that's not Sierra, to be honest.
I don't
So
either. And it looks like it's the common, too.
yeah,
So very interesting. They will be able to, like you said, play this Ada Lovelace immediately on their turn. They'll probably, by the time all of their mana has been used up, have Traced's ability online, so they will get to see that extra half a card that goes into their reserve. So it's not the end of the world. Um, but we'll see if the Sigismar can keep up the tempo. This is the type of turn that you really have to look out for if they have a Haven Bravos Bastion, or not a Haven, a Monolith Ortis Bastion. Being able to play it after the opponent's committed to one side of the board, and if you have anything that can contest on the other side, ooh, that might be even scarier.
yep. So we're looking at a scenario now where the Trace can actually double advance 2 days in a row and still not win, which means that the Sigismar is pretty much guaranteed at least an adjacent, if not a win on the next day if they just advance once. They will get sabotaged there, but it may not even matter.
And with the mana that we have at our disposal, Traced is not going to get the 5th scrap counter on this turn. Grand Endeavor is a very, very polarizing card I've found among Sigismar players. I have found success with it. I know a lot of people haven't. In fact, it's one of my favorite cards to draft with. I think it's a very powerful draft card for Beyond the Gates.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes it is just backbreaking like it is right here. Other times you draw it and you're like, I wish this was any other card in the game right now.
That's what usually. I mean, it feels like in a lot of deck lists now you see like the one of, potentially two of the Grand Endeavor. So it's one of those things where it's a pretty niche scenario, but the way we have Altered set up currently with no side decking or anything like that, it's always not a bad idea to throw something in there as a one of that. Hey, it really might help me in this specific matchup or
And
this specific scenario of me getting ahead, however many expeditions, right?
especially with Ortis, where you have Baba Yagas and Ozmas to be able to draw cards, but the Sigismar player playing down a common council, trying to block off one expedition from having any on play effects.
Always
This
nice.
could
Yeah, always nice to have that happen against Trace, especially when you're expecting Havens to come out. But I'm never actually expecting a common council from Sigismar at this point, so um, still looking quite good. They literally only need to advance once, and Trace needs to take two here, or at least
and
prevent an advance. But
with the way that the board is set up, this John Embassy, is it Embassy Overseer? Assembly Overseer has 0 water biome stats. So they currently have 0 contesting one of the expedition regions that this Sigismar player needs to advance. This is a predicament for sure for our Traced player.
on the positive note, because we're always looking for a silver lining, they do finally get the 5 scrap counters and get to activate their ability. So hey,
They
there
do
you go.
indeed.
Wow, one cost Salvager gets to come out, so we get a perfect Dr. Frankenstein that you can't activate with a Haven, so why not, right?
If there even was a Haven to activate here, which is another. Whew, they
This
might
is
not even need this Grand Endeavor to win.
you know what, Simon? I'm glad this
Mhm.
happened because it just further proves the point of what hero is just bottom tier.
It is true. Trace cannot compete with top tier heroes like Sigismar.
Yeah, it's
I
just
mean, you
like
see what happens when they don't draw the Haven. They've seen 17 cards in their deck. That's almost half. I'm American. I can do math.
math
And they haven't seen one of their 3 of card. Impeccable.
kilometer.
It's
Um,
true.
but yeah, so easy win by the Sigismar if we're being honest. 300 elo versus 100 and some elo. Not when you're playing a low tier character like Trace. Get out of here, man. You may as well be playing Aurak or something because that probably has a better win rate than Trace. okay, all right. Well, I'm gonna stop. Let's look at some more games. Just want to thank everyone that's still here through all the rambling. We are currently in round 4, I believe, of some weekly online league altered variety, AWOL,
Let's check out table 10. Oop,
and
if that's okay with you.
yeah, we are in the finale of this season, on Wednesdays at least, but we will still get to see a invitational happening on Saturday, that anyone that has been top 16 gets invited to. So this was the last chance for anyone to get invited, but I'm sure we'll have plenty of good players to play. I think you said that we're already up to like 80 signed up.
We have currently 87 players registered,
Nice.
and there are about just under 200 people who have qualified. So about 50% of the people who have qualified are able to participate, which I am very happy about. Um, there isn't always a best time frame that works for everybody, and sometimes people just have no interest even if they did qualify. So
Mhm.
seeing that like 50% has been something that's definitely warmed me inside more than any love from anybody ever could. The real thing I need in life is more tournaments.
More tournament entries is what Simon lives off of.
If
Love
we could
is.
get to 100 tournament entries for the Invitational, I would be over the moon.
I mean,
Absolutely.
all we have to do is have like 16 new players get an invite here, and we'd be pretty darn close.
Or alternatively, some of those people that already have their invite register and play in the event.
Oh, there you go. And just for fun, while we're watching this game here, Navenka versus Sigismar, even board state, even resources, um, what's the format that we have going in for the Invitational? I hear it's going to be a little bit different.
So yeah, the Invitational itself is going to be set up very similarly to our regular weekly events. For the first portion, we will have 7 Swiss rounds instead of 6. Because of that, that means we will have potentially no undefeated due to how tiebreakers work, but that extra 7th round means that the players that are most deserving and have played with the best records will have the highest potential to make that top 8. So with it being 7 Swiss rounds instead of 6, that's already a little bit different, but kind of similar. But after those Swiss rounds, we will be having a top 8 bracketed playoff where the top 8 players will be playing against one another in best of 3 matches if time permits. Potential to be best of 1 right now. I'm still leaning towards best of 3. We'll see what happens. Um, but they will be able to play against one another, and first place will be getting a booster box of Trial by Frost, and top 8 will all be receiving packs of Trial by Frost in some way, shape, or form. I do not remember the numbers off the top of my head. I want to say that it's like 12, 8, 8, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, but I could be wrong. So do not quote me on that. I am not a lawyer. But yeah, and it should be a very fun event. I'm excited to see how top 8 playoff works because you don't have to go undefeated in Swiss. You just have to make it to the top 8, and you never know what your luck's going to do from there.
Sounds like a fun time. I think I like the idea of like having an online based event that has a top 8 following a Swiss setup. I know some folks have been doing some of that, but I don't think we've had one quite as large potentially at this point. With a full setup here and maybe even getting 100 players like you mentioned. And speaking of a really quick aside here, you not being a lawyer, neither are most of you altered players in the Discord. Stop it. Stop it with the NDA stuff. Like, why? Do you just want to show off? Okay, I'm sorry.
If you turn into table 1, if you've not done so just yet, we
uh,
have some very good traced gameplay going on right now versus Afanis and Senka. It's very inspiring to see a bottom tier hero do as well as it is right now. Um,
yeah, I mean, honestly, like, claps to A.W.O.L. Like, good job. Like, it shouldn't be this close.
It really shouldn't. But they're somehow gutting it out. They've got double Haven Bravos Bastion. They must be one of those lucky players. 15, 14, my bad, cards left in their deck. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
And Cole, I agree. I also know bird law. I learned from the greatest, Charlie Kelly. Taught me everything I knew. Rest in peace.
Uh, it would have been better if you like baited out the idea of it and you say you just know some type of law of the avian variety. But you know,
Yeah,
it's fine.
I
Um,
am only just slightly good at baiting, but you, I hear you're pretty good at it.
One could say that I am I'm not going to say it. Anyway, we have 2 havens out for the trace, which is probably why they're doing so well because everyone knows you need a trace. You need trace to have havens to win. Otherwise, you may as well just be like, I don't know, playing Aurak. But yeah, trace currently up 2, getting to use the ability, and we are currently on day 6. It looks like, assuming that no one mana'd incorrectly or did not mana. But you can never count an Aphonis out. They might be able to pull something out here. I don't know. Yeah.
What do you think about the sabotage on the magical training there instead of the off you go?
I think most of the time it's correct, especially with Traced, because you're usually expecting to play a bunch of low cost stuff to the point where it really doesn't matter if he wants to pay 4 cost to off you go something, rather than giving them more resources.
Oh,
And in this case, they're planning for it. They're happy with the idea of forcing them to use the off you go, and they'll take a free advance here, and there's just one less card that they can draw, opposed to
absolutely.
something set up here. So a lot of
Ab-
times I feel like that's the scenario that we're looking at. We can't see hand, so we're not sure, but usually not too many misplays at this level.
That hooked is clutch. That's twice now tonight that we've seen a hooked really make a difference. I don't know. I think that card is probably one of the most underplayed cards, I would say, in comparison to its strength out of Beyond the Gates. But I also think that it's a hard card to play properly. So it might be adequately played. But
Yeah, I mean, I know there's been a few different scenarios watching these AWOL events where you think that the person is completely done with. They're like, 1 mana left. There's nothing that they can do here, and then they pull out the hooked, and it just does something nutty, right, to keep you into the game or even win a game. So I definitely think at this point it's almost like a requirement in a lot of Axiom decks, at least as a one-off. If not, the idea of using the a little bit of an out of faction rare in the Lyra decks. But yeah, it's a good time. I don't know if that's showing up weird for anyone else on the
oh,
OBS.
this Frankenstein is going to be massive here. Getting another resupply, being a 2 mana 5/5/5, straight stats down the board, and hitting an Axiom Salvager too. What can't this Traced player high roll?
Yeah, honestly, it's just probably pure luck at this point. With playing Trace, everyone knows it's just a roulette, and it has nothing to do with consistency of one drops or anything like that. But yeah, what can you do? We do see a Beauty Sleep come out from the
And Beauty
Afanas.
Sleep is not the worst card in the world here. Um, Being able to delay the inevitable has potential in this sort of matchup.
I mean, realistically, all the Afanas does need to do is prevent an advance. Not super likely, but prevent at least one advance and double advance themselves, and then they're in small step territory, which is all you need. But we'll
True.
see what they have in with the 3 cards in hand.
I
Potentially, might be start digging time with the magical training from reserve, but yeah. Well, that's where you're wrong, Westwell. If you pay attention to the Discord, it's Trace that is the low tier gambling roulette deck. So,
I'm curious about placing that Foundry.
oh, you're the
There's no
intellectual. I get it.
way.
Sorry, my bad.
There's no way that they have another hooked in hand, right?
I'd be surprised. I think most times I only see a one of on a lot of them, but I guess they could.
There's just no way there's another hooked.
There's just no way. Yeah, sorry, Westwell. I didn't see your joke there initially. Thanks for putting that in 2 spots and making me look dumb. Appreciate that.
3 mana to work with. They only need. Oh,
Keylon
didn't even
verse.
need the hooked, just the Keylon burst. Did they misclick? Nope. Alright. Trace players proving once again what a top tier deck should look like when it's functioning properly. Congratulations to our resident Trace player here for winning this match.
Easy Foundry mechanic win. What can you expect?
Let the record show that this is in no way us making fun of any of the players or their gameplay actions in this game. Instead, we are making fun of people in the main Altered Discord. I hope that nobody is upset about that. Know that some of the takes in there can be amazing at best and putrid at worst. So,
Hold on,
nevertheless,
let me pull up the South Park disclaimer that they put at the beginning of every show. So I can...
round 5 is indeed up. So, for those of you playing, go get at them.
Yeah, let's look at round 5. We should be to a top 4 at this point.
Let's look at table 1. That's the one that I am most interested in. We have at least one Kojo player at the table. Can we get 2?
Let's see here. Oh, we saw Gamma Knight lose as well, so they're no longer in there. Interesting. So let's take a look at table 1, like you mentioned. We know A.W.O.L is playing the Trace. Do we know what DeVicho's playing in table 2?
Let's see. They were the one that we watched at table 4, so it should be Sigismar, right?
Okay, gotcha.
Sigismar won that first match against Trace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let me pull this up here for everybody. Looks like
Yo, Cole with the bye. Look at you go, Cole.
sometimes it's what you need to get into the top 16. We do see a Sigismar versus a Kojo. The good old token battle. Who will win? What's your record now at this
So,
point, Cole?
what do you think about this matchup? As somebody that's played Bravos and Ortis extensively.
Yeah. High end, most ideal scenarios. Sigismar probably it's actually close with most ideal scenarios, but Sigismar is more consistent. So I mean,
Yeah.
which is going to be the scenario for any Bravos deck at this point. I genuinely believe it can be a good deck when it's performing the way that it needs to perform, but without having certain things, it just isn't as consistent as most top tier decks, I guess. So overall, Sigismar, I think it's easy to say it has the advantage. But if you play it correctly as a Kojo, I'm not upset to play a Sigismar a lot of the time, to be honest. You can mess them up pretty badly with some ideal sabotages, planning out your Buddha turns correctly, or even if you run like a 2-cost rare Mono Eruption that surprises
Yep.
them on occasion. Because
Absolutely.
not a lot of people are expecting the 2-cost removal in anything other than Ortis a lot of the time, or Ysmir, I guess. But yeah.
And that rare mana eruption is something that I have. Ooh, this is a very interesting play coming out from the Kojo player, and I don't quite hate it. They're going to trade the expeditions, and they use the helping hand on a tiny Jin, so they will have 5 mana to their opponent's 4 on one of these early turns. That is going to be very, very, very interesting to see how they can take advantage of this.
Yeah, a cool play, especially in the scenario of like you see potentially a ramp coming out from like Hydracina decks and Muna occasionally, taking advantage of that initial boost to hit
Yep.
Tiny Gens. But obviously the 2-cost, 1-cost play from Kojo, obviously not a bad one, especially if you can trade the expedition. I don't know how many times I've been playing a Bravos deck where I somehow advance 2, but my opponent still advances 2 as well. And it just feels awkward, especially on an initial turn. But you know what? I advance 2. I'm fine. I'm cool. I'll take it. But yeah, either way, they are able to play that Tracer out. I
The
imagine they have
rare Bravos Tracer, too.
Yeah, I imagine that they either have something in hand or they're just planning on using that helping hand to get the Tracer back into reserve. Either way, I don't think that's a bad scenario. We do have a
No.
unique Amelia Earhart in reserve if you control a token resupply at
Yeah, that's how we
2/2/3.
got the Baba Yaga into the resupply on the first turn of the game.
Yeah.
Speaking of, with this Baba Yaga, I know many of you can see that it is a rare Ortis from Beyond the Gates retail and not the Kickstarter. Funnily enough, I am in search of one rare Baba Yaga from Ortis Beyond the Gates retail, not Kickstarter. I don't need it permanently. I need it for about 3 weeks. And I can give you a Kickstarter one in return for the time being.
Are you
But
planning on doing a drug deal with this?
there is some limitations to the potential print on demand. So if I get selected for the beta,
Oh, you're talking about
I
the alt art. Yeah, I got you.
cannot print the alt art, and I want to have all foils shipped to me and printed if I get selected.
Hmm.
So I've had to scrounge up. You can actually see I found one of these Foundry mechanics that are not the Kickstarter alt. I found that in a draft pile that I had done the other day that I had forgotten to redeem. So right now all I need is a Ortis Rare Baba Yaga. So
I see. That makes sense. Do you not have one at all, or you just want?
oh, I have 3 of the Kickstarter ones. I have a
Hmm.
playset of every rare, but I won't be able to print the Kickstarter ones if I
Right.
get selected.
Okay, I just didn't know you had absolutely like
No.
0 retail Baba
No.
Yagas.
I have a retail Izmir, but not a retail rare Ortis.
I gotcha.
Because I didn't open any retail product.
That's
You
fair.
think you can lend me one? That would be phenomenal. I was gonna put a post out here in a little bit. I wasn't super worried about it because I still don't know if I'm in the beta or not. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people ask about the beta in general, almost to the point of like Altered having to send out an email to let everyone know that they received your application kind of thing. I don't know if that's the scenario, but I feel like that could be a scenario. Anyway, cool sabotage.
This Ratatasker is a very powerful unique.
Let's take a
Having
look.
the option to resupply, but also making tokens, very, very strong effect.
Gotta love those token generators. If you didn't get one at any point, that's too bad. You could always try to buy them at the marketplace on Discord. Oh wait. Anyway, I'm sure the other marketplace will be coming out soon. I almost feel like a lot of people are probably going to get some beta invites soon. But who knows? Maybe not. We'll see. But yeah, as far as like retail goes, I have the full play set for Kickstarter as well. But I am currently trying to at least master set retail because I got a bunch of them for like my locals that I figured, well, why not, you know? And I
So
actually
you're
still,
trying to get one of each of the retail cards as well?
yeah,
Interesting.
just because, like, and just throw it in a binder. I don't think I'll ever use them for play.
Sure.
But
Are
because I
you a
already,
binder collector?
I have a lot of collection-based stuff. Like I have all of the promos in regular and numbered at this point.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, but I figured since I was opening so many retail packs at like locals for like playing right,
Rising.
yeah,
Yeah.
I may as well. And plus, I actually have like boxes of retail that I haven't opened and that I don't know if I'll ever open. But I've been using I've used a couple of them on like just fun like drafts
Yeah.
with everyone. So
That's what I
yeah.
did with quite a few of my Kickstarter boxes. I didn't want to just open them just to open them because diminishing returns and all that.
Hmm.
Um, but I did drafts with them with my friends instead and just kept the cards. It was a lot of fun. I am a big fan of the sealed and draft format in Altered. So,
Yeah.
fun fact, I still have yet to lose a draft game.
Yes, we know. You're amazing. Congrats.
Look. I went undefeated at Gen Con, and in the 5 or 6 drafts I've done since then,
Yeah.
also haven't lost. But I digress. The bragging is over. We have a new unique that has hit the battlefield. Expedition, whatever the term is. When I leave the expedition, make a brass bug and target expedition. I have one of these armors, and I have enjoyed playing it. But I like that this reserve effect can answer permanence, especially if the Sigismar was potentially planning on playing a monolith this game.
It's interesting. Like one of my first decks I made
Oh yeah,
was
Cole. Our 2v2 draft, it wasn't even close. It was not even close. It was great.
I one of my early decks that I made was a Foundry Kojo deck, and
Mm.
I have a similar Foundry armor where when it leaves, it creates a brass bug. I believe it's a 3/4, and then from reserve you can discard a permanent, but I don't have to pay extra one. So, um, Bria Damwater, let me know if you want a better Foundry armor. I can hook you up. All
So
charges,
right
all
now,
charges like $500 anyway.
we have
Um,
gone blow for blow back and forth, trading expeditions. We are moving into the 5th turn of the day. How do we think the rest of this game is going to play out? The Sigismar player has a grip full of cards. The Bravos player is currently struggling to keep up. This is one of those turns where you mentioned getting that early mana means you can pass on skipping a mana if you want to and keep a card, but it does not look like they do so.
yeah, I assume at this point they can play everything that they have available to them, and they have no way to resupply and/or draw. Um, but yeah, it's getting at one of those setups with Bravos where you're a little bit low on resources. The Sigismar has the ability to draw again, um, but they are even, so not too bad, especially with being able to get that brass bug out. Basically, a pseudo little Buddha until they get a Buddha next turn as well. So not bad. We'll just see what the Sigismar has in hand and what the Kojo can return with.
So it is an Ortis Cadets. Here comes a powerful physical training going to go on this seasoned Bravos Pathfinder. Wow. This could be a very interesting turn of events. That physical training, being able to draw a card at the same time too, is going to replenish this Kojo player's hand while also putting a massive statted Bravos Pathfinder into play. I'm curious about what their next action is going to be. It has to be to just physical training the Pathfinder again, correct?
They could also, honestly, it's probably the Pathfinder to be safe. They could try to take a risk here and assume that the Sigismar has a cadets, and that could have that can block the brass bug side of things. But either way, they're able to just guarantee it with the Pathfinder. It'll be seasoned. It'll come out, and we do see the cadets out.
So
Um,
now this is one of those turns. The Kojo now has full control over this board state. They are advancing. They stop the Sigismar player from advancing, and they have a 2-mana 6/9/9 Bravos Pathfinder. You can only assume they'll be starting their turn by playing, just to avoid any sabotage shenanigans. And that physical training, that rare, was insanely powerful that turn. Being able to juice up this seasoned card, replace the cards in hand that you use to play it, while also not giving up any board state whatsoever. That is the power of the rare physical training in Bravos.
Yep, those draws definitely helped out. I think at this point, the huge thing that we're going to have to worry about, if without the sabotage being in play, is definitely going to be a teamwork training. Um,
And we have seen, crazily enough, from the Bravos player, helping hand. And they
yep,
cannot teamwork training this Pathfinder on this turn. So if they play a card and the Bravos player happens to have one of those helping hands that are in their deck, this could spell demise.
and we don't see a teamwork training in reserve for the Sigismar, so it depends on what they drew here. We do see a second Pathfinder out, so likely no fleeting removal between a Vanguard and/or the helping hand. So we'll see. Oh, the rare Keylon burst coming out of the
I
Sigismar
like
player.
I like the rare Keylon burst for two options. One, it gives you another 3-cost removal for Sigismar, which can matter a lot. But it also gives you the permanent removal. So if you see it early enough against a Haven, you can answer a Haven before it becomes a problem from the Traced players. But I don't understand why you would worry about Traced when that deck's not very good.
Yeah, I agree. Especially when you could have a bunch of other things in the rare slots, right? So, but either way,
Absolutely.
yeah, no, it is a bit of a rarity in all seriousness because we have been seeing a lot of bureaucrats being added
Oh
to
no.
Sigismar decks.
This is going to just create a token, is it not? When it
Yeah, it
leaves the
should.
expedition.
Yeah, it should.
Oh no. They will now be able to just put that brass bug, and I think that's going to be the game.
Is that a misplay?
I almost wonder if they didn't have any other options and they just had to hope that the Bravos player didn't see it. But regardless, I assume the players made the right choices with the cards that they have in hand. Very interesting to see how that match played out. Bravos taking the W, Kojo over Sigismar. You said that Kojo was not consistent enough, but in that match he was able to get there.
Yeah, honestly, what can you do? Sometimes Sigismar wins, sometimes Bravos wins, and you know what? I'm not disappointed on either side. It is kind of anticlimactic at the end there. I was kind of expecting a little bit more play rather than just
Hmm.
the sticky note seal, but you know what? Um, what can you do? At least it's better than a small step, giant leap. Let's go back though as I
If we look at
navigate.
table 2, this will be the player playing against Bravos and Kojo in the finals. Might be worth watching.
Did it end up being the Sigismar versus the Trace matchup?
Yes, and
Okay.
it's actually looking to be a very close game so far, too. The Sigismar player, for those of you that can't see it yet, just had to use 2 of their uniques, but they are playing a rare Anubis in their deck. So they have the option to get sacrificing on this traced player's board, which means that if they play a card from their hand that doesn't have fleeting, and they sacrifice it, that's not going to go to the reserve. That'll go straight to the discard. Won't be able to get any plays off with it. But the Traced also is not having their Havens in play here, so I'm not entirely sure how they're
It,
going to
it
mount a
looks
comeback.
It looks like the Sigismar was able to utilize the unique that's currently in the reserve to discard at least one Haven potentially.
It
Um,
does.
but
If
yeah,
that doesn't, oh, the one that's in the reserve, correct.
yeah,
That's a powerful Rune Scribe. Very good meta call.
yeah. Especially, it's kind of a bold take for the Sigismar player, knowing that Traced isn't meta, and he probably wasn't going to run into a lot of Havens. Um,
Agreed.
but you know, I mean, bold take nonetheless, and it's fun to see some fun uniques that
They
can
were
remove
probably
some
playing for the
permanents.
mirror matchup to answer the monolith.
Yeah, monolith would definitely be a big one, especially the rare monolith that I think is probably the peak of meta at this point, and honestly,
1,000,000%.
honestly surprised we don't see more of it with how good it is. But you know, teach their own.
I
Fun
hear the
idea.
cost reductions are usually good.
Yeah, I
Ooh.
fun setup though with wow, a rare cadets.
Yeah, that is a very interesting play. I almost never see a rare cadets, but that one water might be coming into real big.
And then the so the thing that baffles me here is that one having the rare Anubis isn't a crazy call. Like sometimes you see it,
No,
right? But the
yeah,
idea of using the rare slot for an Anubis and then for cadets, um, it's definitely not very typical. All
I'll be
neither
curious to go back and look at this list because I think like there could be something neat going on with this game.
yeah, and then also just the idea of like one using the sacrifice from the Anubis on a foundry mechanic. Um, but maybe they had their whole curve planned out there, and they're just going
It
to use it
looks
teamwork
like
training. So yeah,
that's what it was. I am surprised they used the teamwork training on the mechanic and not on the brass bug. Because there's a real chance where the trace player just passes here to keep their cards in hand and just move forward one at a time.
yeah, force the play.
Yeah, if you. I don't know. I don't know. Because Trace doesn't often have good grass statistics either, especially from hand. So the odds of them being able to get 2 out of their hand seem low, while also being able. I don't know. Maybe it was the right call. I am not here to judge. I am here to commentate.
It's not a judging time, it's a commentary time. Yeah, no, it'd be it's actually interesting and something I'm kind of looking forward to at some point is just the idea of being able to see hand cards um in like a commentary aspect or at least some adjustment in like the BGA spectator slash tournament setup that I know we mentioned we talked about a little bit before, obviously not on stream, just to see if there is changes that can be made that make things a little bit better as far as the spectator is concerned, and just for people that are helping out on the support end of these games and not just the players.
Absolutely. So right now we are currently waiting, and the Sigismar player chose not to place a mana this turn. Trace leading off strong. I wonder if they have a Tinkerbell and they want to just take a card out of the hand. No, putting a Frankenstein into the reserve with no Haven to trigger off of. It does have better stats than the mana you put into it, so 2 mana 3/3/3 isn't the end of the world. But I almost wonder if it would have been better to play a card from your hand first to scout out what plays were going on. But like you said, we don't have information on the cards in hand. We just look at the cards that are played.
Yeah, it's one of those things where we can kind of infer best as possible. We know there's probably at least 2 more havens
That
available.
Chronicler is really good.
Yeah, to the traced. But the question is, do they even bother, especially with that Rune Scribe waiting in the wings? But the Rune Scribe does get played. Chronicler is you may activate the from anywhere ability of target permanent you control, 3 from hand, 2 cost from reserve, 4/2/0. Yeah, quite good.
And still having the resupply. But
Yeah,
Helon Burst coming out. Let's see. Will they be targeting
Moon Scribe.
3 mana left from the Sigismar? Sticky Note Seals is going to be able to hit that Frankenstein, send it to the reserve. And right now, the Trace player is put in a sticky situation where they need to have a card, and it doesn't look like they have it. So Sigismar pulling off a win over Traced in a clutch scenario, do or die. So now that means that we have our final match set up. Sigismar versus Kojo is going to be the finals.
Yeah, one of those rare scenarios where honestly you're gonna mana that sticky note seal when you're playing a traced a lot of the time, and the one target that you can hit with it, being the Dr. Frankenstein, was able to actually help out here and get them that 2-1 victory. So interesting nonetheless. And DeVito, I mean, a cool note here is at 158 elo, not that elo matters, but potentially a newer player to the game, being able to make it to the
Absolutely.
finals, which is a pretty cool thing.
And right now we have Keelan Guy's match is the last to finish up. There is a potential that he has a small step giant leap and wins before even going to the fun mode known as Dusk within this game. We'll see what ends up happening.
Let's see if I can get there in time. I'm hurtling, going into the
There are
game.
currently no small steps in the discard pile, and Keelan placed a mana, so to me it does not read like he has one. But if he has a rare magical trading, he could get to see multiple cards, and it could quite get him there.
So we were looking at a
Baba
situation.
Yaga, that's another one that could draw it.
Were we looking at a situation where the characters were slept beforehand once I see so
Yes,
many out?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the spy and the trooper were both slept. Imagine if that card that was drawn off the Baba Yaga was Small Step Giant Leap. Anubis unique. On play, each player sacks and potential to discard permanents. So that's multiple Sigismars that now have answers to permanents on their uniques. I think that that is not a bad way to plan for your unique strategy with Sigismar. So
And
very
honestly,
interesting.
yeah, and honestly, if it's something, uh, honestly, I'm a big proponent of the idea of playing the uniques that you have. I'm not one
Me
to
too.
spend like something crazy on unique just because it's a meta kind of thing, right? Just play the uniques you have, especially if you don't have the disposable income to try to make something that's quote unquote meta. And you
For
can,
sure. The rares and the commons in the hero make a deck. A
yeah,
unique can make it better, but it does not make it worse. or like you won't have a worse deck without them. I guess that's not necessarily true. Uniques aren't the end all be all. I agree completely.
But anyway, Keelan guy takes the L. It's okay. You tried your best. I'd be curious to see
And
if he's trying to run a different type of a funnest, because I've rarely seen Keelan guy play something lately that's not something fun to them kind of thing. But who knows?
all right, round 6 is up.
Round six. Let's go back here one more time before I switch over. Once again, everyone, we are going into round 6, the finals. 2 undefeated players, 1 Kojo, 1 Sigismar. And this is the final Wednesday AWOL tournament before the Invitational. Final Wednesday tournament of Season 1 within Altered as far as Beyond the Gates is concerned. The last of this meta that we will see potentially for a while. Before we get into like the full Trial by Frost meta. But yeah, it's been good to have Simon here for this final Wednesday. Excited for the finals, especially since we get to see a Kojo, right, Simon?
Absolutely. Kojo is one of my favorite heroes in the game. So is Sigismar. This is going to be a win-win matchup for me. But Kojo has had a grip on my gameplay recently. I've been playing Kojo the most out of any of my decks. I would love to see Kojo get a win here, take a 6-0 victory in the last AWOL weekly of Season 1. As soon as this match loads in, I would be happy to tell you what the game looks like.
Let's see. Waiting for the art
And
to set up.
And we have had Kojo's win AWOL before. Freeloader, most notably, won won AWOL last Wednesday, a week ago,
Yep.
with a 5-1 record with Kojo. So it's not impossible, and I think that the deck has a lot of potential. But like you said, sometimes you draw the right parts, sometimes you don't. But they have been playing a very interesting list, which I have been kind of a fan of at multiple points. Um, Looking at their decks in the past, I have seen that they have played Kojo in AWOL before. Specifically, they played it last week.
This
Their list
Sigismar
is very
is
interesting.
the Sigismar is something else too, because they are running a common Ordis Trooper.
Yep. Common Orders Trooper, I don't hate it. It is a 1 mana after you, for most cases, that puts stats into play. Most people opt for the rare. I think the common is okay, but the rare definitely, paying the same amount of mana for almost a 60% increase in stats is quite good.
Yeah, especially with the idea of them running things like a rare cadets, and even I see more merit to the rare monolith rune scribe, but even then though, you feel like most scenarios you'd prefer the rare uh, trooper. But I mean, what am I to say? They're here in the finals with a 5-0 record, so maybe there's something that
Absolutely.
I'm missing.
And it looks like they're in a situation where they've taken an early lead. The pressure that comes from playing Sigismar is definitely something that's real, but something to note on this current board state. They resupplied but got 0 value out of it. We are going to go to a turn where the Kojo has their Buddha, they have the first player marker, and the expedition that they did not advance and that the Sigismar did is a solo water biome. So this 2 mana 1/4/4 Bravos Pathfinder is more than likely going to be able to stop any plays that the Sigismar player has in the hero expedition, while also putting pressure on the companion expedition with this Buddha every other turn. They might be able to take at least one expedition and stop another and even this game up.
Yeah, I mean, we've watched this individual play the Kojo a few times at this point, and they've gotten a lot of work out of that rare Pathfinder, just from the seasoned aspect, and honestly, just the stats from the mountain and the water and seem to always line up quite well. Even this, even right now, just one step into the game where we see both of the Tumult cards revealed, perfect for the Pathfinder wherever they want to put them, and should be interesting to see how the Sigismar follows up, because we're definitely going to see that Pathfinder played first.
And it's very interesting to note that this is the rare Ortis Cadets. So it is not going to be able to put 2 mountain stats in the region for the companion. It's only going to be able to put 1. So if the Kojo player puts... Ooh, let's see what they do. All right, they went for the value play. I'm not sure if I was in that situation I would have done it, especially because I feel like I could have put that onto the Buddha. But playing around the teamwork training is smart. They now have this Pathfinder still safe, but they gave up an expedition to do so. So now they're
and
2 expeditions behind.
and on a Buddha turn,
And yes,
which does not feel good. A lot of the times with Kojo, and I don't know if you feel the same way. I'm fine giving up 2 advances early, as long as I can get 1 on my own, and I know I have a Buddha turn next
yep.
turn,
If
because a
I'm
lot.
establishing something, I think that it's okay to give up a double advance with Kojo.
Yeah, especially with the scenario of you're at low mana, there's probably not a lot that they can play to stop both of your expeditions if you want to do it, and you're probably going to be able to catch up. But in that scenario right there, they do make the teamwork training be burnt early, I guess, is the positive. But
Hmm.
at this setup, it's going to be difficult to prevent the Sigismar from potentially just going 1-1.
And I feel like that works, like you said. The Sigismar can go 1-1 and trade expeditions, and all of a sudden they're touching each other with their expeditions, and you still have to double advance and win another to even be in contention. It almost feels like it's playing right into the Sigismar player's strategy.
Yep. I mean, we still got to see what's left in the Kojo's hand. We'll see the Sigismar, what they're going to play here first. I imagine we're probably looking at another card play. Yes, I know, Cole. You saw me smirk. Okay, don't say it. We're keeping it professional for the finals. Anyway, we got reputations to uphold. Anyway, continuing on to the Sigismar, we're probably looking at maybe a 3-cost play here. Obviously, a lot of 1 costs available. But we do see the Baba Yaga contesting on the hero side, basically forcing the Kojo player to say, hey, do you want to let me double advance here? Or are you going to play something else? And they play the helping hand, which makes me wonder, do they have something else to play here for 2 costs?
A fleeting Bravos Tracer would not be the worst thing in the world. Isan
Okay.
Boshi.
So
Interesting.
so we get the fun scenario where both heroes get the double advance.
Yeah, not too often that we see that.
Usually only the case that I've seen most often when a Bravos player is being played, but you never know.
So I'm curious to see. I feel like the helping hand has outlived its usage here. I feel like they cannot take another turn. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this, the Pathfinder is still not on an ideal board state. It had those early turns where it was, but now we've moved past that with the Sigismar, and they can contest and grass on it each time. Interesting. This is going to be a big turn, especially with the Buddha play.
Yeah. And yes, Cole, I mean, have you not been watching this entire stream? I was talking about Farmville for about 30 minutes, for God's sakes. I can tank all you want, but
Farmville was fun.
either way, talking about some Altered, and then also if anyone wants to check out my YouTube that you're currently on right now, I have this fun video where I reveal a Trial by Frost card. It's great.
Do
Anyway,
you have to subscribe to the YouTube to watch the card?
you know what? I may have benefits for subscribers in the scenario of I didn't post it, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it now on stream. If that video reaches 1,000 views,
Oh,
I will do a box giveaway of Trial by Frost or Beyond the Gates if you want to. I don't care. To one of my subscribers.
that's pretty good.
But you
Get that
have
in
to be a
writing.
subscribers.
Hey,
Record
you know
that.
what? I'm going to click the subscribe button right now. And I'm going to like this video.
Awesome. That's what I like to hear.
Liked and subscribed. I'm actually surprised I wasn't subscribed earlier. But all of that aside, we have. That's interesting.
We do see that permanent destroyer of an armor come out that we've seen before.
So I think what's going to happen is this Baba Yaga will be played on the hero expedition. They'll move forward once, and Kojo will move forward twice, but they only then have to take one expedition to win this game.
And we do know they have a Grand
I
Endeavor,
don't think
right?
it might be the Grand Endeavor player.
I'm
I
not
can't
sure.
remember.
Yeah.
Too many Sigismars, they all run together. But yeah, so this is a very, very dangerous territory to be in as a Bravos player. Back against the wall, you have to stop both expeditions. You do get that token from the Foundry armor leaving, but depending on what you draw here, it might not be good enough. Let's see if they can pull it out of the gutter,
And
if you will.
quite a quick game with a bunch of double advances by both players. We're going into day 5, um, and we're already almost done with the game. Uh, Unfortunately for the Kojo player, they're not on a Buddha turn, but like you mentioned, they do have a Brass Bug to help them out a little bit
Which
here.
here is almost as good as a Buddha turn, if not better, because they get to block one of the expeditions right off the bat. They don't have to commit to it just yet.
And they can match and even overdo the token that Sigismar gets in the hero expedition, whereas normally they would be forced to Buddha in the companion expedition. So a little bit more utility there. Obviously, I'm sure they'd like to have the Buddha and the Brass Bug, but you can't have everything most of the time. But either
True.
way, we'll see what the
Very
Sigismar is pulling
interesting
up.
to note. No mana from our Bravos enthusiast.
Another Ortis Cadets in the rare slot coming out, so that means we know they're running multiple and a Keylon cylinder.
A Keylon cylinder making its appearance here today.
Not something I am accustomed to seeing.
I wonder if it's something they're testing out with this Bravos Pathfinder. I've definitely thrown the idea around in my head. But we'll see.
Yeah, I've only seen. I don't know. I mean, because it's rough because you use the rare slot, but you don't get the benefit of the rare Keylon cylinder.
Yep.
Um. I don't know. We'll see. Either way, not looking ideal, especially with only 2 cards in hand. But we'll see what the Sigismar has available. I imagine they'll to not show their hand too much. They might want to play the spy here, but I don't know what else they have in their hand. It is pretty crazy just to see this different version of Sigismar do so well, especially the rare cadets. And I mean, realistically, I assume this is a new player, not someone on a Smurf, but maybe I'm wrong. We'll see.
I think it's very interesting that we even have the concept of smurfing BGA. I've had multiple people bring it up before. They're like, oh yeah, that was my alt account.
Yeah.
I'm not really sure what the purposes of having an alternate account for BGA is. But I'm not one to judge. So we'll see what ends up happening here. Sigismar taking a while to think on this decision after having some lightning fast early turns in the game, really wanting to make sure that they can lock up this win, lock in the AWOL victory, and secure their spot in the Invitational. So definitely don't have an issue with them taking more decision on this turn. They might be worried about what tricks the Bravos player could have up their sleeve. I would not be surprised to see. Oh, that is a very interesting play right here.
Yeah, so I know on Monday we saw some fun different Isatok plays, even in a common for Sigismar players. So it's interesting to see more of these bureaucrats show up within a Sigismar deck, and honestly, more rare slots being used in a different way for the Sigismar player that I'm honestly not used to at all. So
This Isatok has the potential to be massive, but at the same time, they blocked off one of their lines to victory. So if the Bravos player has teamwork training right here. Oh, that is massive. And just like that, this game has been turned around. This Tracer is going to be able to be played next turn. They'll be coming into a Kojo turn. And this Isatok shot themselves in the foot. They now do not have the Expedition advancing on the companion side because of what they've played. This is a massive swing for the Kojo player. Let's see if they can capitalize on it in this next turn.
Just a nice setup of different events for the Kojo player, having the support ability, being able to remove fleeting, having a Keylon cylinder available to them that I was incorrectly bashing on apparently. But we'll take a look. They did not mana last turn, so we'll see if that may affect them. They do decide to mana this turn. It will be a Buddha turn.
That tells me that they have a 2-mana card and a 3-mana card in their own hand. This Bravos Tracer coming down on the Hero Expedition forces the hand really quickly of Sigismar, and I'm curious to see if they'll even rely on the Isatok or just use the support ability to draw a card.
We may also be looking at the idea of a Pathfinder with the ability to use Helping Hand twice. As far as mana curve plays, we do know there are multiple Pathfinders available to this Kojo, maybe even another Tracer being played, but I guess we'll find out. They are splitting up here, trying to force Sigismar as far as either playing the Isatok or using the hero ability to draw, which is a benefit. But either way, we'll find out what's going on here. It's weird because I like the Buddha for the Kojo this turn, but I also don't like the idea of having to go first and using the limited resources that they already
Especially
have.
against Isatok.
Yeah.
Having that Isatok in play can be so devastating. So right now, they have the potential to put 6 in stats off the board we know into the Companion Expedition. If they have a 1-cost card in their hand, there is a very real chance that, that is just brutal. The common physical training, we've only seen them play the rare up until this point, but the common physical training being able to be played twice this turn, 2 mana on the first time you cast it, 3 mana the second time you cast it. This Isatok might not be enough. But you know what would be? Double teamwork training.
It would be interesting to see if they actually either they drew that as far as the ability of what they have. It'd also be cool if we could see mana too, to see what they actually mounted. But
So
either
they
way,
used the 1 teamwork training super early, so they only have 2 left. Using the Isatok support ability, I am so curious how this game is going to play out. Like we said, both players taking some time on their decisions, making sure that they can lock up a victory, get that coveted weekly winner title. Anubis. Ooh.
that's a huge one, especially with
That
the physical training split.
that is another huge one. So with that Anubis, that means that we might be looking at a tiebreaker game if there is no characters at hand for the Buddha, for the Kojo player. And just like that, this game has gone back and forth like a ping pong ball. And it honestly showcases the absolute beauty of this game. I think that this has been a phenomenal game to watch so far, and Altered has so much going for it. I am just over the moon about this match.
Yeah, especially since the differences that we've seen in both of these players and their decks respectively that are not necessarily the prototypical meta decks that you would see for each of these heroes. So very cool in all honesty. I'm actually a big proponent of the Anubis just for funsies kind of thing on the Sigismar.
Mm-hmm.
I know Keylon guy isn't the biggest fan, but we get to see
Oh,
it there, and it will get a block on the Anubis as well. And I'd be curious if the Sigismar has something here.
if
The
the
idea,
Sigismar
the,
has a teamwork training, they go to the next day.
yeah, but the idea that they played that Anubis makes me weird as far as like what they actually have in hand, because they could
I
have.
believe any 2-cost character on the hero expedition is enough to lock them in. A charge coming out. This is even worse than we could have imagined. That is going to cause a tie on the companion expedition for the Kojo player and a loss in the hero expedition. So just like that, from one bad situation to good, back and forth, the Sigismar player is able to get a victory with that charge. Wow, what a finish, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, good job, DeVicho. I mean, I would have never thought in these past months of playing Altered and commentating Altered that I'd see a Sigismar with multiple rare Ortis cadets take a full event 6-0. Even though I would have been happy for the Kojo player and a Bravos player taking the whole thing, crazy game by far.
Absolutely.
Let's take a look, see if we can have anything else to top off the day uh, as
Looks
far
like
as
there's a
games.
few matches. I will let you pick whichever one you would like to spectate.
Yeah, let's take a look here. I gotta navigate my way back. Few matches left. Either way, congrats to the Sigismar player. See if I
Absolutely.
take any
DeVicho GM.
names here. I guess the first one I see here is on table 2. Can just grab that at the moment. Oh, we get to see a Basira player. That's fun. Pull that
Oh, we have
up
a
for.
Basira at table 2. That is exciting. Bravos has been doing pretty okay today, apparently.
Yeah, we get a 1-for-1 here. The Faunus does have a unique spindle harvester available, one of those special ones that cost 500 euro apparently. I'm not the one who sold 3 of them. The guy to my right has. But we still are even as a Basira. So
Yeah.
I'd be interested to see how that's been going so far. Let's look at the discard. Nothing crazy.
We
Looks
have
like they've been able to cycle
ooh.
some blade dancers potentially.
Yeah, and the helping hand is really good too with the Blade Dancer once you get out of that losing fleeting from your own ability range. But what I'm most curious to see with this board state with the Basira is we have a Chiron coming out. Not too many people have been playing that card, but it is actually one of those cards that I have really enjoyed in my Bravos decks as of late. So I'm excited to see that somebody else has also picked up on that as well.
Yeah, common Chiron honestly is like one of the essential parts of like a good Itzadi deck I found as
Hmm.
well. It gives you a little bit of flexibility as far as lower cost cards, but then obviously you can boost Gigantics. Anyway,
Wow,
unique
this
Shinlong.
Shenlong is powerful. You can read the effect.
55755 stats. I have tough 1, and when I gain 1 or more boosts, if you control 1 or more landmarks, draw a card. And those are all scenarios that they have can accomplish here with any amount of boosts.
And
And
with the
I
Basira, that's 2 separate instances of gaining a boost, which means that they would be able to draw 2 cards immediately with this Shenlong unique.
and potentially also get further instances that I have to imagine are available in the Basira deck as far as different cards that can initiate another boost. Whether they want to add those boosts onto the Shenlong itself, I'm not quite sure, especially since it seems like the Faunus is potentially giving up on the companion expedition. But we'll see what they are able to draw and if we see the Basira activation. We don't. Interesting. So I think that most definitely indicates that we're probably looking at either a helping hand or another Chiron coming out. Because otherwise, why wouldn't you take the draw?
Yeah, I mean, there's a world where they have a um, common physical training. A common physical training would be enough to buff this Chiron. A second Chiron. Wow. They have the potential to just win on this turn.
Yeah, they're going
Unless
for the
there's a
double stat
sleep.
instead of the draw.
If there is a beauty sleep from the Afanis and Senka player, that would be enough to push this to another day. But right now, they currently have the double advance, and the Afanis and Senka player passes. The Basira player finishes the game with a powerful unique and two powerful common Chirons.
I'd be curious to see if they hit that Chiron off of the draw.
Yeah, I would be too.
But
Wow.
anyways, GG's to the Basira. I believe that that'll put them in the top 8
Absolutely.
with a
They
5 and
are.
1 record. So
Yes. Yes. What a great finish to that game as well. We have had some absolute phenomenal matches to watch here in the last little bit, and it actually looks like all of the matches have finished up.
all
I
right,
don't know
sounds
what to
good.
say. That was a
Uh,
phenomenal tournament overall.
Yeah, and it was good to get up to the 60-ish marker again. Once upon a time that we saw on the Wednesday tournaments. I know the EU folks have been going nuts, but thanks for all you North American and EU folks that decided to stay up late to participate in the last Wednesday Season 1 tournament of the AWOL setup here. I'm going to pull up the standing breakdown for y'all to take a look at, and we can read them off here. Simon, why don't you do the honors and let us know what we got going here?
In first place for our final AWOL Wednesday weekly of season 1, we have Devicho GM. They were playing an amazing looking build of Sigismar and Wingspan. Second place was the runner up, Bria Danwater. They were playing a Kojo and Buddha list that came down to the wire in the very last match. If you have the time to go back and watch it, I would highly recommend it. Rounding out the rest of our top 4, we have A.W.O.L and Gio El Amigo. And the rest of our top 8 is Mark HZ, has Maddie, Canaz Batista, and a Spanish name that my Venezuelan best friend is not here to pronounce, so I will not butcher it. If you made the top 16 of this event, please let me know so I can get you your invitational qualified role. That is going to make sure that you can play in the seasonal invitational we have on Saturday, a big capstone event for AWOL's amazing season 1. We have plenty of prizing to give out for the top 8 of that event, so check it out if you haven't. Best of luck to all competitors in that, and congratulations to our competitors tonight for an amazing week.
And congratulations to Freeloader getting Orak in the top 16 by a
I
nose hair.
did not even notice that. Freeloader getting
What?
Orok their first placement that's going to go on to 39cards.com. Shout out Tom for making sure that all those results get recorded. Amazing finish from Freeloader.
We got it in there. I was never expecting that to happen. As the lone Saudi person, I appreciate you for doing it for us low tier folks. Am I still the lone Saudi person? I don't know if I am, but I was the
I think that
first.
we need to get some more Trace people in there too, though, because of how low
Yeah,
tier it
yeah,
is.
yeah. It's pretty low tier too. That's my bad in general. But yeah, great top 16, great finals match, and great last match that we got to see of that Basira player taking the win. Um, definitely didn't build this deck 2 hours ago. Yeah, I wouldn't believe you did. And then honestly, like as a quick recap here, the Sigismar that did end up winning, just to check that it was not a Smurf account. And I'm looking at it, the person's account now. Devicho, if you're in here, don't take this the wrong way, but was just wanted to make sure. But been a member since October 27th of 2024, so potentially got into Altered just after release. So it's
Mm-hmm.
an older account, and in general, like that ELO's legit. They've played 206 games
Oh wow!
and have only won 75 with 36% win rate, and just demolished the last week of AWOL here, um,
Absolutely,
showing that like, hey, on any day, this game, someone can take the win, 6 wins in a row.
absolutely.
So great job to the new winner there. Great job to everyone else, especially Freeloader for bringing Orak to the light. Um, that Basira player. Any closing thoughts, Simon, other than just the promo?
I mean, this has been a great series to run. I've been over the moon about our turnout just in general. When I first started AWOL, I was hoping to get 16 maybe people on a Wednesday night, people getting to play the game that don't really have a locals, but it has really caught on. So to see everybody's excitement around the game, having 63 people to finish out our first season's weekly events, going back to, like you said, 60 plus people on a Wednesday. We haven't had as many the past few weeks due to just the holidays, as well as just general lack of needing to play because of already being qualified. But amazing turnout from everybody. I can't thank you enough for participating in these events. I really do appreciate everybody that has played in them. It means a lot to me. So I hope to see you on Saturday for the seasonal invitational. I can't wait to crown a seasonal winner there. We have some more fun matches ahead of us still in Beyond the Gates. It is not over yet. We still have some stuff to play.
For sure. And honestly, thanks for joining me here on the final Wednesday. It was fun having you, getting to commentate over some Altered, getting to go on complete opposite tangents, and getting to talk about the lowest tier hero in the game, Traced. I think we hit everything that we possibly could hit. We had
We
a good
really
amount of people.
did.
We got a good amount of people in the chat getting to talk the entire time. Including our first ORAC here on Wednesday. So, you know what? We had it all. Excited for Saturday in the Invitational. Let's hope get that up to 100 players potentially, just so that way we can complete Simon's dream. And I think at this point, AWOL is pretty darn close to 1,000 people within the Discord, right?
We are about 50-ish members off. We're about 950. So we're almost at 1,000. I have something planned for 1,000 yet. I haven't physically done it yet, but I still need to mull it over in my head, make sure it's something I want to do. But 1,000 members, we're almost there. It's been great having everybody join us. So yeah, couldn't do it without you.
Yeah, you know what? I'm glad I can do it to it for this setup. You know, I was just a young lad once upon a time that this thing started, and I've grown into a man. Uh,
True.
this beard was not here when AWOL first started. That's a lie, but you can pretend that it was once not there. Um, I will to wrap things off now that we've said our stuff and just doing things. I'm going to do something a little bit, something I like to call a shameless promotion of a video that I released today for my Trial by Frost release. And we all get to watch together if you're still here. Uh,
In a
here right.
world.
I'm looking to my right now.
Which faction, I wonder? Oh, okay, Ortis. Okay, yeah, it's a good faction.
It's a great faction.
Yeah.
One of the best.
Oh yeah, you remember Robin Hood? I remember Robin Hood. Yeah, it's a good card. Yep, the meta and altered. That makes sense. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Until what? I wonder what happened. Oh, a day. That's when Trial by Frost comes out. Okay, that makes sense.
Okay, yeah.
It's a new set. Yeah, that's what Trial by Frost is. That's what the symbol looks like. If you didn't know, anyone. It appeared. Yep, Trial by Frost. There we go. Allowing the torch to what? What's happening to the torch? I don't know. Oh, it's gonna be passed. It's probably a different faction, right, Simon?
Absolutely, it's going to be a different faction.
No, it's the same faction.
It's the same faction? That's crazy.
Oh my god.
Shit.
Here we go
Here
again.
we go again.
All right. Oh, we're going to a break here? Is something happening to the video? Little fuzz. Oh, okay, we gotta stand by. It's kind of looking old-timey. I wonder if we're gonna see like some like Old West or sepia tone type of thing happen here. Oh, November 14th. That was so long ago.
Leader of the bureaucrats, Waru, coming to you
It's like some
live
old footage, you know, like a throwback.
television.
Oh, he said
This is
sepia
great
tone.
for me, my pal Mac, and my number one taxman, Robin Hood. With
There's Robin
absolutely
Hood. I remember
no
him.
end to our dominance in sight.
Wait, when was Robin Hood errated?
Well,
Oh yeah, November 14th. Yeah, that's right.
on my way, old man. Ha ha, it is I, the action.
Oh, this is a little bit of in the future thing here.
Goes wide and leaves all opponents to the side. my reign over the altered meta on top of my trusty steed Wingspan
Good old Sigismar.
will be everlasting
Actually won today,
for as
right?
long as...
Oh,
Sigismar did win
was that?
today.
oh, he's
Oh, come on,
something big's
not
coming.
you.
Wonder what that is. Oh, it's Goalrang. And Toxin.
Hello,
Alright.
hello. It's Blue coming to you.
Oh, it's me. I'm out in the
live
ocean. That's
from
crazy.
Mount Everest. And welcome to all you lovely folks out there to view this exclusive Trial by Frost card reveal.
I'm excited. I can't wait to see what it is.
That's right. It's time to get frosty, and not Jack Frost. That card already has been revealed. Besides, this is not a character. It is, in fact, a gear.
Oh,
from
I've been
the
waiting
Ortis
for the Ortis
faction.
gear, so I'm excited to
This
see
card
this
in
one right now.
particular, however, has also been revealed. Kind
You know, people are not going to watch this video
well.
because you're just watching it now.
Yep,
Your views won't get
that
up.
one right there.
And I remember
It made
if we
its
get
rounds on the
1,000 views
Discord.
on that video, something cool
Now,
happens.
you're probably
I just
wondering
actually showed that
why
one
we
card
are
that Loki
here
told me not
floating
to
on
show
open water,
anymore on the
waiting for a
Discord.
card
So
reveal.
it's
Well,
in the video,
that's because
but
we
what are you gonna
are
do? I
waiting
guess.
for something mobile to fly in, and
I don't know how serious he was being.
wait, I think I hear it coming in now in all its high definition art glory.
Oh, what's that? Oh, it's flying in. Oh, watch your head. Oh, okay, there it is. Okay, cool.
That's right. It is the Mobile Armory, the 1/1 gear
wonder what
for
it
Ortis,
does.
which you might have already known, but what you might not have
A lot
known
of
is
speculation
the
about
much
this card in the
speculated
Discord.
about actual ability. So, without any further ado, let's let it land and take a look.
Watch out, Simon. Move out of the way as it lands. Get out of the way. Get out of the way. Oh look! I'm on the boat. It's going by. Me. And we're landed.
Alright, so on its
Whew.
surface, nothing crazy,
close.
right? Just an on-play recruit gear.
Right. It
Not
is
even
late over
brigade
here
like
for
the
me.
Ortis
Don't
carrier.
keep me hostage
But
for your
the
silly
key here, I
shenanigans.
think,
Hey,
is
you
the
know, it's
fun
only a
info
few
for
more
the gear,
minutes. You can manage,
which is a
Simon.
rarity in
I
the game
really
promise.
can't.
as far
I
as
didn't
card
eat dinner
concerned,
tonight.
Oh my god.
which
You
should
kept me
also
Fine.
get
starving.
use some
Oh
other
my god.
supportability
It's
effects
you know
that
what?
were
Just
present
you can
before,
leave. I'm
including
just gonna
on
finish
some of the
watching
new
this video
Trial
with
by
the
Frost
people.
cards
They
Yeah.
want to
shown
see it.
here.
Okay.
Anyway,
okay.
thanks for stopping by, Simon. Wave goodbye to the
With all
people if
that
you're gonna
being
go eat.
said,
Bye.
still not
Thanks
the
for
easiest
having me.
for you
Absolutely.
students, right?
Come anytime.
So how about we take a look at the
Alright.
rare and out of faction rare that is going to add a little something special
All
we
right.
haven't seen before.
I will see
that
you
may
later,
be
Blue.
geared towards
All
a
right, catch you later.
specific hero. Hey there.
Thanks everyone that's sticking around for this.
Drum roll, please.
In case you haven't already seen it. They're the rares. There we go.
And there it is. And for those of you that may only be listening for the sake of
I don't know if
falling
anyone
asleep to
caught
my
this as
soothing
well.
voice,
I'm actually in the
or you are a
background
toddler and just like
of
pretty pictures,
this
it
reveal.
says, Defender characters don't prevent my expedition from moving forward. And the out of faction, as you can see, is in Ysmir.
Great
So,
effect.
we finally get a little
Can't
defender
wait.
tech for the different defender associated characters we already have. But
Ooh.
probably
We saw a
most
lot of turtles
importantly,
today on the Discord
what
as
makes
well.
the third Ortis hero we haven't
It's gonna
seen
be
too much of in season
turtles
1,
in a half shell, you know
able
what I'm
to
talking about?
advance in expeditions
Turtle power.
before the mid game
For Trial
on
by
day
Frost.
6.
If not other cards, I don't know. I haven't
won't
seen any other
nerd out
defender cards.
too much and dig deep on potential here in order to keep this
Appreciate that,
reveal
Blue.
video short.
I
But
know
this
I'm getting
obviously
tired a
opens
little
up
bit.
some
Probably shut the
options
stream
for
down
dueling
soon, but
players out there,
appreciate going over this.
and even leaves the door open for similar effects on other cards in Trial by Frost.
I wonder if we're going to
cards
see
in
this effect
future
on
sets,
uniques.
and maybe even uniques.
Oh, I thought about it. See? There you go. That'd be cool.
That, however, is it, everyone.
Oh, look, there I am. See?
Even though I'm sure
You
we
can't
can
see it, but
speculate
I'm right up
all
there
day.
on top.
One last time, though, let's take a look at the 3 cards associated with the gear known as Mobile Armory.
Oh, there's the
If you
cards.
enjoyed the video, because I had a lot of fun making it.
I did.
And if you can find it in your heart to like the video, comment on how excited you are for Goalrang this set. Special prize.
You should do
for
that
the
if you
first
haven't
one to
already.
do it. And maybe find it in your heart to subscribe, then I'd appreciate it. But until next time, I'll see you in play on the next day.
Appreciate it, everyone.
That's me.
Oh, yep, that's me. It's crazy. All right, everyone. Thanks for stopping by. It was a fun time, as Simon mentioned, for the tournament, and it was cool getting to rewatch that video. I may even throw that in a video of me watching me make a video. It could be a good time. It could be a cool short. Anyway, have a good time, everyone. I'll see you later, and yeah, go watch the AWOL tournament this Saturday or compete. Bye bye.